So good vibes today, you guys. Do you appreciate this shirt? I got this like 6 years ago, and I feel like it's so something that like a 30-year-old mom millennial would buy, thinking that she's staying on trend and looking cool. And so that's exactly why I got it. Hello lovelies, welcome back to another weekly video. This is going to be a fun one. I don't think we've done like a past life vid in a while, and I really enjoy going into past lives, not just for the fun and the entertainment of it, kind of feels like a journey in and of itself back in time, but also because there is deep purpose in uncovering our past lives. Through our past lives, we can discover kind of our soul's inherent wisdom that it's gained over time, maybe some hidden talents that we have that we're not fully utilizing in this life, maybe even an understanding of the connection between like our fears in this current life, like our fears and our phobias, and how those are connected to issues from previous lifetimes. So it's going to be fun, it's going to be entertaining, but there's also going to be a lot of meaning and purpose in looking into this past life. This one specifically is going to be which past life were you famous in and what were you famous or well known for. So that should be exciting, right? And the decks are really thick. I've got a few different layers of cards to go through, and we'll end the reading with kind of 3 cards that are advice from spirit on kind of what to do with this information about your past life in this current lifetime, how to apply it, how to use it, maybe what needs to be healed or fixed or whatever. So 6 piles today because I wanted to be very specific for all of you. I wanted each one of you to be able to have a pile that really spoke to your soul. So it's spread out. It'll be a little bit longer of a reading, but hopefully you enjoy my company. I enjoy your company. So get somewhere comfy, grab a drink and a snack, and let's get into the pile selections. See you guys at your timestamps. All right, pile 1, welcome to your reading. Let's find out what you were famous for in a previous lifetime and how you can use this information in your current life. So let's take a look at the card topper you all gravitated towards, this particular doorway. It's in a very natural setting, more so than the other options that we had to choose from. On the back of the card, it says Nomad. The nomadic wanderer lies deep inside, so take the leap now, don't crawl back and hide. So I feel like that could be some advice for your current lifetime. Maybe you were quite the explorer in this previous lifetime. Maybe that's what you were famous for. Perhaps you are holding back that explorative part of yourself in this life. We'll see as we get into the cards. I want to start with rolling the die, and then we'll flip over some of the past life cards. All right, we have Pluto in Leo in the 3rd house. So Pluto is about complete transformation, death, and rebirth, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know how my laptop was ringing. It must be connected to my phone somehow. Okay, what was I saying? Pluto. The phoenix rising from the ashes, being reborn. So having a big ending, but somehow picking yourself up, transforming yourself, and rising again. So that was kind of the theme of your lifetime in this previous life, and probably what projected you into the spotlight, into a place of fame. And Leo is kind of the sign of the rich and famous. It's all about that spotlight. And the 3rd house is about our local community. Can even talk about our neighbors and elementary school and high school. So I'm kind of getting the feeling that like the first half of your life or the first part of your life, you may have been kind of like an outcast or the nerd, like no one really saw much potential in you. And then something happened. It's almost like maybe a flip switched within you, and you wanted to explore more about yourself and uncover things and transform. And then everyone was like really wowed by your transformation. Kind of the vibes I'm getting are like if you watch a 90s or early 2000s teen movie, you know, it always follows kind of this outcast girl, right? The nerdy girl, the girl that's not like the other girls. And then there's always some sort of makeover scene where the hair's taken out of the ponytail and the glasses come off. And then all of a sudden, you know, everyone's, oh my God, and she's the most popular girl in school. And usually in those movies, it's like the outside changes first, and then the applause that that girl is now receiving boosts her confidence. And so then eventually the internal part of her changes as well, where she becomes more confident, more sure of herself through that external transformation that propelled it. So I feel like something like that happened with you all in a previous lifetime, and it created a sense of fame for you and your community. So maybe for some of you, it's like the town that you grew up in, the state you were in. It could be the country that you were in. Or it could be that in some sort of specific community that you were a part of. Maybe you were part of, like, for example, the tarot community. Stargirl, the practical witch. I don't know if any of you guys watch her. Most people who are in the tarot community are very aware of who she is. She has a lot of subscribers, but she's not famous to the extent that if she's walking out on the street, she's going to get stopped and people are going to ask to take photos. So she has, like, I think almost 1 million subscribers. She has fame, but it's not like worldwide fame, I guess is what I'm saying. It was something like this, okay? You guys were famous on some sort of level in some sort of community you were a part of. But it was a tighter knit group, all right? Okay, let's flip over some of these cards that will give me more details into the past life. Okay, so this is kind of the major theme for you in this past life, was overcoming fear or dealing with fear. And even look how this girl doesn't look like this reflection, right, in the mirror. But as she's looking at her own reflection, this is what she sees. It's almost like she's scared of herself. Okay, and then we have the agriculture card, and we'll see how that ties in with the rest of the cards here. All right, we have Scorpio, the animal. Pisces, the mystic. This is the shapeshifter of the zodiac, so not surprised to see that there. We have Trine, it says flow. Venus, which says love. The 4th house, our roots. And the 12th house, surrender. Interesting. Yeah, okay. So in your previous lifetime, it was kind of like what I was saying. You grew up feeling very ugly, weird, not cool at all, and almost went into a place of hiding for a long time. I see that you kind of just isolated yourself. And then it's weird. It's almost like you transformed. Now kind of the storyline that I'm seeing, and each of these storylines may resonate with some of you and may not for others, because Spirit's going to send me different images and videos pertaining to who I'm talking to, which is a whole group of you. So it kind of be like, I'm kind of getting images of like the 1930s in the US, okay? And this girl grows up in this, let's say like a little farm town. We do have the agriculture card here. Maybe she's poor, doesn't have much money, was never the cutest girl in class, and no one really expected much of her. But she had these dreams inside of her that she wanted to become an actress. And so one day, maybe many years after graduation, she decides, you know what, I'm going to move to Hollywood and I'm going to try and make it. Meanwhile, she's not keeping up with anyone in her old town. And basically the next time that the people of her town, maybe even her family, sees her, it's like she's on the screen, she's on TV, she's in some sort of film. She looks totally different, you know, hair, makeup, everything. And now she's someone that many people desire and want to be with. You know, many people look at her and say, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. If I could only look like her. So it's like almost, it's something very unexpected. Your fame was extremely unexpected. And I do feel that it had a lot to do with, it was your external self that brought you fame, okay? You made yourself beautiful or desirable somehow, and that brought you fame in a sense. So with the Leo here, I am feeling like creative arts, performing, modeling even, or really anything where like the way that you look, dress, carry yourself is a big factor in determining like whether you're going to make it in that industry or not. So that was a big thing. I also see that in this past life, the reason why you were so you were uncomfortable with yourself the first part of your life. It's almost like you wanted to hide. You wanted to cover yourself in a shell. You didn't want to be seen, and you really weren't seen. You were good at that. It had to do with something going on in the home life. I feel like a lot of you were women in previous lifetimes that went through some sort of abuse in your household. It could have just been physical, but I'm also getting like sexual abuse as well, perhaps by a family member or some sort of authority figure. And that really made you kind of, I don't know, question and feel ashamed and scared of yourself, just like the fear card is here. And so in this lifetime, this was what you really overcame, this fear of your own self, the fear of your own inner demons, and this belief that you can transform. You are worthy of love, of attention, of praise. It's okay to be desired by others. That's not dangerous in and of itself to be a desirable person. That was kind of a big thing that you had to overcome. But yeah, I'm getting lots of images, like black and white images of like the classic Hollywood women and performers, even like a burlesque or actress or something like that, maybe even a singer or a model, but I'm getting like lots of Hollywood sort of images. So, and I see here with the agriculture card that you guys started out in some sort of really small town. No one was really famous from there, and also in a family that was quite poor, and it's like you grew up with a lot of siblings as well. So perhaps parents were farmers or in agriculture, but let's look through more of the cards and see what else Spirit wants to say. Okay, we have the Healer card. Elon Musk. Greta Garbo. Oh, perfect. She reminds me kind of the imagery that I'm seeing here. Okay, I want to look at the tarot. All right, we have the World. This is Saturn energy, so Capricorn, Aquarius. We have the Knight of Pentacles, Earth energy, so Capricorn again, but also Taurus and Virgo. And Page of Swords, air energy, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Yeah, okay, interesting. So I do see here in this card that there was definitely travel involved. You broke away from where you were, where your journey began, where your life began, and moved into something new. But I even see in this card, like I'm kind of noticing this woman being naked and kind of performing. That's again kind of showing me that there was something with the body. Some of you may have even undergone plastic surgery at a time where plastic surgery wasn't really talked about, wasn't a well-known thing. I'm definitely getting that feeling from these cards. And you also had, there was an insecurity within you that kind of never went away, no matter how desirable you became. And there was a part of you that always felt like you wouldn't really be able to fully rely on yourself. Like you needed to have someone else's support or approval for you. Like I'm almost seeing that a lot of you may have been married like several times. All of the marriages would have been with successful people in the same industry that you were in. So it was almost like a strategic move up. Or it's like, I'm not going to be the one to worry about my finances. I don't want to be the one to speak for myself. I need to find a man who can do those things for me because I don't trust myself in that area. Like I'm the performer. I'm someone to be idolized, for people to take pleasure in, but I can't speak for myself and I can't organize my money. There was a weakness or an insecurity there with that, or you wanted to be with a man just for the sake of, he'll be able to speak for me, handle my contracts, make the major decisions for my life because I don't want that pressure. I don't know how to do that. Okay, so that was definitely something that I don't feel that you were ever really like in love in this lifetime. Although I do feel like you married more than once. It was more for these reasons and not for like an experience of true love, because you honestly had yourself so guarded in this life. I don't know if you could really feel, you didn't feel very connected to your heart chakra, which is ironic because we have Leo in the die, which rules the heart chakra. I think that's why you wanted the applause and the approval of other people, because it would help validate you. It would help you know that, okay, I am desirable, I am good, I am worthy of love, worthy of praise, because it's like you had a hard time feeling that for yourself. So you had to feel that through others. Okay, let's read the Elon Musk card. It says, you can't make an omelet without risking a few nest eggs. Icarus lacked a better spacecraft. Hitch your wagon to the future and design it yourself. The Greta Garbo card says, are you sure you wouldn't rather be alone? Only go to the altar if you take the lead. And marriage isn't the only way to have a partner for life. Yeah, I can see in those two cards, everything I'm talking about here in context of the time period would have been very forward thinking, right? A woman that's going to go out to Hollywood, undergo plastic surgery. We're talking about when TVs were still black and white, marry multiple times. These were all, and even just the idea of being like, think about how Marilyn Monroe was so persecuted for her time, just for her open sexuality. Her wanting to express herself in that way was really persecuted. So you were ahead of your time in that sense. You were doing things very off the cuff that the majority in society weren't doing. But I do see with that Greta Garbo card that you didn't really ever get to truly experience love. And I also see for some of you that you would have also either maybe abandoned a child that you had way too young, or maybe it was a child that was a product of incest, for example. Like I feel like you were way too young when you had a kid, and so you left that child maybe in the care of your parents when you moved away to go pursue whatever it was you were pursuing. Or for others of you, while you were trying to get your career started, there may have been an accidental pregnancy that resulted either in adoption or in abortion. Whatever it was something like very hush hush. That also would have been, that was something you kind of, I honestly feel like you didn't really grieve any of that in this life here because you were so cut off from your heart chakra in this life. I feel like that's something you're grieving now, like in current lives, grieving this. So I don't know if any of you like maybe get very triggered by certain topics and certain conversations, maybe certain films that cover certain things related to, children, adoption, these sorts of issues. But it's connected to this, your kind of experience with these themes in this previous life that really never got to be dealt with. So it's like your heart, you do feel more connected to your heart in this life, which is good. But so I see that things are pouring out from previous lives. So your reactions to things may feel a bit overwhelming or even stronger than you feel like they should be when you look back, and it's because of this sort of heart that's still mending within you. On the healer card, it says passion to serve others by repairing the body, mind, and spirit, and ability to help transform pain into healing. On the shadow attributes, it says taking advantage of those who need help and failing to care for oneself. Yeah, I see that some of you, you ought to look up go to the Wikipedia page on Greta Garbo, because a lot of this is bringing up her life for me. Greta Garbo was an actress that was extremely private. She kind of suffered with depression her entire life. She never married, never had kids. And she became famous for her roles where she was playing a woman that was much like herself, a woman that was very melancholic, very kind of depressed and apathetic. It got her a lot of well-known roles. That's how she became famous. But she kind of lived a very like quiet, isolated, lonely life. I don't even know if she was very connected to her family of origin. And that's kind of what all this is bringing up. Some of you may have, I do think that some of you suffered from maybe alcohol dependence or some sort of drug dependency that you felt helped you in your career. So it wasn't like a drug addict, like that you were, how some people take drugs to like detach from their career, to run away from it. It would be more like you may have got dependent on drinking before a stage show or before some sort of performance to help kind of loosen you up, or maybe there were certain medications you were taking to help. It was for the purpose of your career, but it did create kind of an accidental dependency. But I see that with the Venus card coming up, like you were extremely beautiful. And the crazy thing is, in your teenage years, you were considered ugly to at least the people in your town. You did not see yourself as beautiful. No one did. And it's like you shocked everyone and caught everyone off guard with your transformation. And that's what gave you the most kind of sense of pleasure for some reason. Because once you became famous, people who never knew you before always knew you as the beautiful version of yourself, the transformed version of yourself. And you liked that. Sure, that was great. But what really gave you pleasure was like knowing that the people back at home, the people you grew up with, the people who told you you'd never be anything, the people who called you ugly, were going to turn on their TV sets or open that magazine and see you in it looking beautiful and totally the opposite of everything they had projected on you. That's what really made you feel good inside, was knowing that those people from your past were proven wrong and it had to be in their faces all the time. So yeah, some sort of, maybe some of you feel very connected to a particular actress. I would love to know because I'm getting lots of actress vibes from this. If so, write that down in the comments. I'd be curious but anyways, okay, let's get to the 3 cards that are kind of, what does Spirit want you to do with this information for this lifetime? Why are they bringing this lifetime up for you? What do they want to say about it? Okay, so first we have the new moon in Leo, more Leo energy. It says confidence is your key to success. We have surrender to non-action. This is a unicorn woman. It says now is the time to be still and not act. Simply breathe and focus on your own power. Let others come to you. Okay, and then the kind of negative subconscious phrase that was put into your mind due to this lifetime and is still affecting you currently is, God has it in for me. The universe doesn't hear my voice. Spirit wants you to replace that with, in partnership with the universe, I move through my emotional conflicts and find a peaceful resolution. Beautiful. So I do see with the unicorn woman card and the new moon in Leo that you guys are supposed to be using this creative ability that you have in this lifetime. Some of you are meant to go into the same career that you did in this previous life, some sort of performing art or artistry or dance, or I don't know, something where it's like you're the face of it. It's your confidence that determines everything, your success in it. And so I do see in this lifetime, maybe there's a lack of confidence because I feel like there's some of you may want to pursue acting, for example, but you didn't grow up with acting lessons. You didn't grow up in a family that has connections to the acting industry. And so you tell yourself like, oh, you know, there's no use. I have no experience or knowledge of acting. How could I possibly make that work? And I feel like Spirit's bringing up this card to be like, yeah, maybe not in this lifetime, but remember this one, this previous one, you actually have more experience and inherent wisdom about it than you realize. And it'll all kind of start coming back as you step into it. Be confident in yourself. Trust yourself. Know that you have what it takes because you do. You've done it before. You mastered it. You did really, really well. So don't base everything in your life off of whether or not you have experience with it in this current lifetime. Sometimes that's not what matters. The surrender to non-action card is just telling me that now, right now for you is the time for you to really focus on building your confidence. Build it up before you start making moves, before you start taking action. So that way you can mitigate any mistakes. That way you know that you can handle any pitfalls that may come your way, any obstacles. If you don't have the confidence to push through it, then you'll fail. So Spirit's wanting you to focus on recognizing and remembering your uniqueness. That's kind of what the unicorn represents. What is it that makes you unique? What is it that makes you special? Really owning that and owning your sense of confidence, your sense of pride. Get that really built up, whether that means kind of updating your look a little bit, taking care of yourself a little bit better, changing up your wardrobe or like whatever it is that doesn't require a lot of forced action forward, a lot of movement, that you can just really focus on yourself to help build up your confidence is what's needed at this time. And yeah, in partnership and then connecting, it looks like here, connecting to the universe, remembering that the universe has your back. Because I think in this previous lifetime, part of you kind of felt like, you know, I created the life that I have. And you did in a sense. I mean, I do see that you didn't come from a good family. You didn't come from a community that really believed in you or cared about you. So, and you didn't really have romantic relationships that were truly meaningful and lasted. So I feel like this lifetime ended with you really feeling like, I don't even know if God exists. I don't know who God is. If anything, God has it out for me. And I had to spend my life trying to work against him to get what I needed. So that carried over with you. And that's really sad, and because it's not true. Okay, you achieved great success in this life, and it was through a lot of your own effort, but don't kid yourself. A lot of the strings being pulled behind the scenes were from God, helping make sure that you were the 1% that, you know, really got that spotlight in your career that so many are striving towards. Like, you were one of the few that got it. Of course, that's your hard work, but it's also a bit of luck. It's also a bit of divine intervention, right? What about those dreams being in your heart in the first place? Who do you think put those in you? So try not to steer into that line of thinking in this lifetime either, because you could basically do a redo of this life in a sense, but like a 2.0 version, even better, because in this lifetime, your heart chakra is open, okay? Your confidence is going to be boosted, and you're going to feel that spiritual connection, that trust, that faith in the universe and in God to pull you through. So it's going to be so much better this time around. So start working on your confidence, start feeling yourself a little bit. That will really, really help you. But what a fun, cool lifetime. Like a Hollywood starlet. And please let me know which actress it is that you've read about and you just feel so connected to. I would love to know if that's the case for you. Or if you think it's someone else, maybe a famous dancer, artist, who knows. But comment that down below. Thank you so, so much for coming. I had a lot of fun with you, and I look forward to seeing you in my next Pick a Card video. Bye. Hey Pile 2, welcome to your reading. Can't wait to see what you were famous for in a previous lifetime and what Spirit wants you to do with this information for your current life. So let's take a look at the card topper you all gravitated towards, this strong, sturdy doorway. And on the back it says, Anthony's Call. In thanks of my spirit, safe and sound, all things that are lost so can be found. Interesting. So your past life may be connected to perhaps a dream of yours that you have for this current lifetime. And maybe it relates to a hobby or something you pursued previously that you felt like it got taken away and there's no going back. And this card's kind of saying, no, look, you can find your passion again. You can return to it whenever you want to. What's lost can be found. So very interesting. And the other thing too I'm hearing is to remember, to remind yourself that your soul carries wisdom from previous lifetimes. So current inclinations or talents, like natural abilities you have in this life, are often connected to really, really hard work that you've done in a previous lifetime in that same area. So we'll see as we get further into the cards. I'm going to start by taking a roll of the die. All right, we have the South Node, it's the past, in Aquarius in the second house. All right. Okay, so South Node represents kind of that earlier part of our life, what we were very accustomed to, kind of like our comfort zone, what we became used to. So perhaps kind of the childhood home we grew up in, the type of family we were around, or just life in general. Aquarius is kind of about that scientific, forward-thinking sort of mind. It's very emotionally detached. It wants to look at things logically. It's interesting because there's kind of a paradox here. The South Node is all about the past, and Aquarius is all about the future. People with a lot of Aquarius in their chart don't tend to want to, once they decide to go forward, they never look back. Whether it's a breakup, like once they decide that they've broken up with someone, they're done. There's no chance of going back to it. Or any sort of decision. Once they decide to move away from somewhere, they're not going back to it. And they also don't dwell on the past. They don't like to think about it. So it's interesting because that seems to be this past version of yourself was very emotionally detached, very forward thinking, just like, how can I keep progressing? I don't want to worry about the emotional part of my life. I just want to see progress. And the second house actually is about our voice. So some of you could have been writers or singers, authors or authors of like poetry, books. Some of you could have worked in the realm of like doing seminars, scientific research seminars, things like that. The second house does rule the voice, as well as our talents and our assets and our bank account, our finances, our money. So there could have been something related to finance that really came naturally or easily to you that was a part of the first half of your life in this previous lifetime. So let's flip over some of the past life cards so I can start getting some imagery of this past life. Okay, so the theme of this past life was stability versus instability. That's interesting in terms of finance, huh? As well as creativity and destructiveness. All right, we have the laborer card, which makes sense with that Aquarius energy, like just being very work focused, not so much relationship focused. Virgo, the alchemist. Sagittarius, the Voyager. We have semi-sextile, allowing. Mars, action. All right. The 6th house of craft, as well as the 10th house of reputation. So 10th house coming up, this is telling me that you really did establish a legacy in this previous lifetime. When we are successful with our 10th house, we're remembered for generations to come for what we did. So, and with all this other kind of like hard work that's showing up here, we've even got Mars, which is very action-oriented, Virgo energy, which is very particular and meticulous. I feel like there, in this Aquarius energy, there was some sort of work that you did kind of in service of humanity. You either progressed something in science, or you could have also progressed something politically as well. So you wouldn't have been like a president, for example, but you may have been some sort of like a civil rights activist that pioneered some sort of bill that got passed that like changed legislation, or yeah, something with science or with medicine, something like that. And we have the stability and instability, creativity, destructiveness. It's interesting because that goes really well with this first card. What's lost can be found. So something was lost in this lifetime that you pieced back together. So it could have been like a country that was lost in political turmoil that you kind of helped pick up the pieces when everyone thought it was broken. There was nothing that could be done. Or yeah, something like that, where it's like something was lost, something was broken down completely, and any other regular person besides you may have been prone to just mourn and grieve that loss, but not do anything about it, or look at it and say, well, nothing can be done, it's broken. And you came in with this Aquarius energy and we're like, no, wait a second, let me take a look. Oh, this goes here, we can piece that here, we can piece that there. So you didn't focus on mourning or grieving the past, and you also were too damn stubborn to just look at it and decide that it was a lost cause. So you really came in and did all of the dirty work, like you carried this cause on your back, basically, and made huge changes in this area that you were in. You were known as extremely intelligent and very wise. That's what I see with the Sagittarius energy. That Aquarius energy gives you that intelligence. The Sagittarius gives you this sort of spiritual wisdom, where like people kind of felt like they were in the midst of like a guru in your presence because of the way you spoke, the way you thought, the way that you handled yourself, your life. You had a lot of duty about you. You know, you were a very dutiful, resilient sort of person. And you were definitely not famous in some sort of career where it's like you kind of got to lay back and be treated like a king. No, you were famous because of all the freaking hard-earned work and labor that you put into something. And it wasn't even for your own benefit. It was literally to benefit some other group, some sort of cause, but it put you on this platform. And I feel like there are a lot of people who still know you today. So you guys, group 2, you were all people in previous lifetimes that can be seen in, history books, articles online, maybe, are known for changing something in history. All right. A humble sort of person. I don't even think that we do have the 2nd house here, which is about money, but I don't feel like you died rich. I feel like you died somewhat stable. You had found your stability. You were earning enough through whatever you were doing to finally feel stabilized in your life. And that you definitely did not feel in the first half, but I'm not seeing like a lot of wealth. Nor did you care about that though. Like you really were the type of person that just wanted enough to live comfortably, to have a secure life. And you put your all into service for humanity in some way. Let's look at some of the other cards. All right, we have the Don Juan. Ooh la la. Charles Ponzi. Oh God. You guys know who he is, right? Oh. And Sigmund Freud. Interesting. Okay, the Don Juan says, spotlights your positive, seductive qualities, and the Shadow says, using the power of romantic attraction for private agendas. Charles Ponzi, keep your conviction even when facing multiple. Got rich quick, leave town quicker, and don't get buried in the pyramid you built. Sigmund Freud says, the virtuous content themselves with dreaming what the wicked do in real life. The behavior of a human in sexual matters is often a prototype for the whole of his life. Pure masculinity or femininity is not to be found. Okay, so it does feel like with the second house coming up and the money stuff, I do feel like there was someone who screwed you over. You guys got, okay, that was kind of the catalyst for what you decided to pour yourself into work-wise. You had personal experience with kind of being screwed in whatever area of life it was that you went into. So for example, if you were a civil rights activist in the United States during the mid-60s, it was because you yourself were a Black American who had experienced racism. And so that's what gave you the passion to go out and do something about it. Or like, for example, some of you were, okay, let's use Sigmund Freud. He's a good example. He went into psychology to uncover and dissect kind of the human mind, help cure and heal people, help guide generations of future psychologists. The reason he was interested in that and wanted to help progress it is because he went through some pretty screwed up stuff psychologically when he was a child, okay? So it's that empathy through experience that's created that gives us the passion to do something to make a difference. Part of us is like, I've suffered through it. I want to see if I can prevent other people from not having to suffer through this. Like, I've got to get my knowledge out there. We've got to make a shift. For some of you, it had to do with something financially, monetarily. I'm seeing like the Great Depression era, even in the US. Some of you could have come from something like that, where all of your money was lost when the banks crashed. You lost everything. And then somehow you helped maybe pioneer certain bills, like with Franklin D. Roosevelt, the Social Security Administration, and certain bills that were created to protect people from losing their money in that way, protect things from being stolen. You were very, very anti-appearances. That's what I'm getting from the Don Juan card. You really, especially after like kind of getting screwed by people or mistreated or whatever it was that led you into your line of work, you kind of had this impression or understanding that a lot of times people put on appearances as a front to something deeper and darker going on. A lot of times people want to project a certain thing that's very alluring, very magical looking to entice you and trap you. So you were not like that at all. You dressed very simply, very to the point. I mean, you wanted to look nice, but you didn't really like people who were real charming with chit chat and gossipy sort of people. You didn't like superficial sort of people, I'll put it that way. And I think most of you were quite religious in your previous lifetime as well. You were associated with a particular religion that you were really involved in. So you didn't like superficiality at all. You could very easily, after some experience, you obviously went through an experience that left you feeling kind of duped and kind of stupid for falling for something. But after that, you did not get fooled again. And you were very good at picking out the bad apple in the group. Okay. People couldn't really get away with fooling you after this. Just a really, really hard worker. And your legacy had a ripple effect on future generations in some way. Okay, let's look here. All right, in the tarot, we have the Six of Wands, Queen of Swords, laying down the law, and Four of Cups. Okay, so you did receive, I see in this card that you received praise and recognition, but also a lot of you were in some sort of line of work that involved exposing the frauds, exposing the fakes in whatever community or industry you were a part of. So maybe you were in a line of work where it was like you outed some sort of important government or public figure for the monster that they were. Yeah, something like that. It's almost like you cut down people's reputations. Like you laid down the law in a sense, or you were canceling people back before that was even a thing. You did not like falsity, and you wanted people to have to earn the positions that they were in. And if they were corrupt morally, like if they were bad people, they didn't need to be up there. And so it's like you did what you needed to do to take care of that. So some of you could have been a journalist, for example, that did some sort of expose on someone very rich or famous, a public figure, and exposed them for who they were. So you were a very strong-willed person, and you really did not care about what people thought of you. That's what gave you your strength. You didn't give an F if the people you were exposing were going to be mad at you. You didn't care if people thought that you were cool, if people thought you were upper class based on, the way that you dressed. You really did not care. And that's nice because your head felt quite free of space. You didn't have all these thoughts and concerns about other people bombarding you. Like, you knew what you wanted to focus on. That's what you did. You were going to do what was morally right no matter what. Like, you did not back down. If something was wrong and went against your morals, you were going to expose it. You were going to do something about it. You were going to take action on it. And so you did have people who rallied around you, who were in support of you. You had haters as well, obviously, but they really didn't bother you, didn't care. And like I said, now looking back, history remembers you fondly as a strong person who stood up for what was right, and who had good convictions, good morals. So I really feel like that's your legacy, really, with whatever you did. You helped create stability. Like, you kind of understood that, like, where a lot of people would have been afraid of destroying something that was already created because they didn't want to have to try and recreate it, you were like, no, sometimes things need to be destroyed. We can recreate it. Don't be lazy. Like, let's destroy this. It's not working. It's false. It's fake. It's fraudulent. Yes, I'm going to destroy it. And I'm not too lazy to put it back together, to build a new one. So yeah, it feels like you cut through a lot of red tape. Maybe there was someone up in government that really didn't deserve to be there, but a lot of people were real apathetic. Well, do we really want to find someone else? Like, it's probably not that big of a deal. Like, I don't want to do the work to fix it. And you were the type that would be like, really, are we going to be that lazy now? Like, no, we're cutting this out. We're getting this person off. We'll find someone new to replace them. We'll find a way to rebuild. But you didn't want to settle for mediocrity, or you just didn't want to settle for less. You were a very idealistic type of person. That's what you aimed to achieve, and a very strong person as well. Okay, let's look at the 3 cards that are kind of advice for this lifetime, how you're supposed to use this past version of yourself in your current life. All right, we have the super moon. It says emotions are running high. We have surrender your fear of intimacy. It says you are ready to let love in. Compassionately identify and begin to release any patterns that stop you from opening your heart. Okay, and then a subconscious phrase that downloaded into your head from this previous lifetime is, and it's a negative one, I have a hard time asking for a raise or trying to increase my income since I think it would be greedy. You totally see how that plays out. Spirit wants you to replace that with increasing my wealth is part of my willingness to grow, change, take risks, and be open to all aspects of my soul. Yeah, the greedy thing, that was something you could not stand in this previous lifetime. You could not stand greedy, superficial people. It irked you. And like I said before, you like really volunteered yourself towards some sort of cause or a movement, something you started, but it wasn't something that made a lot of money. You were doing a lot of your work for free for the sake of this cause. And you just could not stand greedy, superficial, conniving, immoral people. And you kind of associated in this previous lifetime wealth with immorality, with fraud, with fakeness, okay? Even though that's not true, right? Of course, there's going to be bad apples in any group, but part of you really, you had this anger and this hatred towards people with privilege, with wealth. It just irked you. So I think that feeling has carried over into your current life to where you don't feel like you can ask for a raise. You feel like it would be bad to try and pursue a career that makes more money. You think that that's greedy, that there's something wrong with you for wanting that. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting money. Really, there's no connection between wanting wealth and abundance and being a bad person. It all depends on how, gosh, there's lots of poor people who are also really bad people who are also greedy. Did you know you can be poor and a greedy person? Greediness has a lot less to do with money than it does with, are you greedy with your time, with your heart, with your empathy? Like, that's what's really important. So don't let the money thing, try and detach from that emotion, okay? It's from this previous life where I feel like you were dealing with kind of working against, pushing against a lot of privileged people that were bad people, okay? You're not a bad person. It's good for you to have money. Gosh, you did so much work in this previous lifetime and didn't really get to enjoy the fruits of your labor because it wasn't an industry that allowed for that. So try and do that this lifetime. Try and enjoy the fruits of your labor. With the surrender your fear of intimacy, this also has to do with, in this previous lifetime, we have the Aquarius die come up, right? Emotional detachment. I didn't feel it. I mean, maybe you were married in this previous life, but it didn't come up at all because that, I guess, was how insignificant it was to you. For you, it was all about this cause, all about this line of work. And you were quite an unemotional type of person. You were very strong, had good character, but you weren't like a romantic type of person, okay? You didn't get to indulge in that part of your life in this previous lifetime. So this current life is supposed to be all about that. So try and let go of that fear of intimacy. There's part of you also because in this lifetime, you did get screwed over at some point. You were hurt by someone or by a group. Someone or something screwed you over and made you feel stupid and foolish afterwards. And you were like, never again. I will never be screwed over again. And you weren't, and that's great. But you've carried that energy into this current lifetime where you're kind of always wanting to be on guard because you're always expecting that someone's going to try and pull one over you. Someone's going to try and screw you over. Intimacy can't really flourish in that sort of energy. At some point with the right person, you have to let that guard down and kind of decide that this person has the best intentions for me. This person isn't going to hurt me or isn't intending to hurt me. I can relax. I can indulge in this romantic feeling in this moment, okay? So yeah, that's important for you at this time as well. Trying to let down this guard. With the emotions are running high card, the supermoon, that tells me something is coming to a head here. Something's coming to a head, and I almost feel like a sense of explosion coming on. So there could be, perhaps you're getting yourself involved in some sort of cause or something that sounds similar to what I've been talking about here, okay? Try and prioritize, all right? That's what I would say to you. Your current lifetime needs to be a bit more balanced than this previous one. Yes, it brought you fame, okay? Yes, you made a huge difference, but every lifetime has kind of a different purpose to it. And in this current lifetime, I do see a focus on building your own abundance, okay? Not giving away all your time and energy for a cause, building abundance for yourself, having nice things that you take good care of, making good money, as well as love life, relationships, children and family and spouse. That's really the purpose. So I feel like part of you kind of tries to lean back into this past life, kind of volunteering yourself everywhere all the time. Maybe to connect back to the feeling and the comfort. This was your comfort zone, this past life. This feels easy for you to be in this energy. What feels weird and awkward is this other stuff I'm talking about. What? Asking for a raise? Like, oh no. Trying to make a lot of money? No. Being intimate and vulnerable? No. That kind of makes you feel like, I don't know. This stuff, this is easy. This is your comfort zone. So I see that even in this current lifetime, part of you kind of tries to go back to that. But here's the thing, you've got the same soul, but you've got a totally different body, genetic code, hereditary line, everything. And your emotions in this current life are much stronger, deeper, more potent than they were in this previous lifetime. In this previous lifetime, you were very emotionally detached. You were able to remain kind of calm, cool, and collected no matter the situation. And that's what made you a great sort of activist in whatever area it was that you were in. God created you that way for that lifetime because of this. In this lifetime, God put you with a family, with a childhood, with the genetics, with the background to be more kind of emotionally deep and open. So that is going to make it much more difficult for you. You're going to have to set some boundaries with yourself. You can't just volunteer yourself for absolutely everything because you actually get very emotionally affected and invested by what you get involved in, by the people that you help. You're a very empathetic person in this lifetime. So that makes it hard for you to deal with darker, heavier topics and situations. All right, so in this lifetime, there needs to be some boundaries there. I'm not saying don't volunteer. No, not at all. But just remember that you have deep, powerful emotions in this life. You're very empathetic in this lifetime. You have to take care of that, protect it. And also, you've got to prioritize your money and your abundance, as well as your love life, your relationships, because that's really why you incarnated. But you did a damn good job in this previous lifetime. I've got to applaud you. You're one of the very few who incarnates to truly make a big splash in world history and kind of change the course of history for the better for the betterment of humanity. So awesome job. Thank you for your service. All right. I'd love to know if you guys feel connected to a figure that aligns with what I've been talking about. I'd love to know down below. Put it in the comment section. Who is it? Someone that you've always felt connected to. Now do you kind of understand why? You think maybe you were that person in a previous life? I would love to know. So I'm going to leave you guys here, but thank you so much for coming. I enjoyed hanging out with you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Pick a Card reading. Bye, guys. Hey, Pile 3, welcome to your reading. Can't wait to see what you were famous for in a previous lifetime and how you can use this information in your current life. The first two piles have so far been very thorough, very helpful, very interesting. So I am excited to see what's going on with you guys. Let's take a look first at the door you all gravitated towards. And on the back of this card, it says the Sacred Lotus. I feel like every time I use this deck for card toppers, this doorway comes out. Seems like the same doorways always come out, which is kind of a shame because it's like a 50 card deck, but Spirit always pulls out the same doorways every time. So let me know down below if you've already picked this card before in a previous reading. Okay, it says the Sacred Lotus, compassion in action, the chosen tool. I see now the lotus in your spirit's jewel. So for those of you who aren't aware, which I know I've talked about the lotus flower before every time we've had this card come out, the lotus is a beautiful flower. It takes a long time to grow and bloom. It's a very slow growing flower. Not only that, it can only grow like in the ugliest of environments. It grows like in a bog or a swamp, like surrounded by just ugly scenery. So when it finally emerges and blooms, like it just brightens up the whole space. It beautifies the whole place, and it really stands out because there's really no other beautiful greenery or flowers competing with its shine. It's really the only jewel there in the midst of the ugliness. So some of you may feel like if you've ever read the story of The Ugly Duckling, I recommend a reread of that book because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from that card, like the story of the ugly duckling, which is, I'll refresh your memory if you don't remember quite how it goes, but there was this duckling that looked nothing like its brothers or sisters, nothing like the other ducks around it, and everyone was always telling it how ugly and weird it was. You know, the other ducklings would make fun of it, and they're like, what a funny looking duck, what's wrong with this duck? Well, once the duck reaches maturity and its hormones start kicking in, I guess puberty, whatever, becomes an adult, it transforms into, well, what it's always been, which is actually a swan. It was never a duck. It was a swan. That's why it didn't look like the other ducks, and that's why the ducks thought it was ugly. Once it becomes a swan, then it finds where the swans live, like the group of swans, and then realizes like, wow, I was never ugly. All this time, it wasn't that something was wrong with me. It wasn't that I was ugly. I'm actually even more beautiful than the duck. I'm a swan. So kind of a story about finding and recognizing your own uniqueness and your own value, okay? So perhaps a lot of your value and your uniqueness you're trying to bury down beneath the surface. Perhaps you're afraid of it. You feel like you should be ashamed of it. And maybe this previous lifetime of fame for you is going to bring up some emotions. I feel like you guys are going to feel very connected to this pile, maybe more so than the other groups that came to this reading. So we'll see as we get into the cards, but let's, as always, start with a roll of the die. Yep, we've got the sun, the spotlight in Libra in the 5th house. Okay, so the sun is our ego, our confidence. It's where we shine. It's where we light up. We get that applause. We get that praise. And the 5th house, that's the house of our inner child, our joy, our creativity, like what it is that we create just out of pure love. It's also about children as well, because we do create life. We create our children. It's also about romance, like kind of that more superficial love, you know, like the fun parts of you know, a love life, fun dates, outings, that sort of thing. Libra is all about beauty, and Libra is very artistic as well. Libra likes things balanced, beautified. For example, I have a Libra moon. Let me know down below if I have any Libra moon twinsies in my subscriber count. Libra moons like to have a home. No, it's not even just they like to have a home that's well decorated. They have to. Like that's what makes them feel, they feel mentally off if they don't have that. And it doesn't even matter so much as like the clutter and stuff. Obviously, you know, a house can't really look nice when it's cluttery. But what I see with Libra moons is it's more so about the actual decor, the furniture that's in the house. Are there paintings hanging on the wall? Are there curtains on the windows? Are things decorated? Like Libra moons have to have that in their home to just feel okay. They will totally go into credit card debt if they need to make their home beautified. Like they cannot live in a space that's just like blank looking and empty. They just can't, especially Libra women. So Libra is all about it wants things to look beautiful, to look balanced. Okay, so there's something here about, well, I guess we're talking about creativity. We're talking about beauty. So I'm very curious to see kind of what industry you all were in this previous life. But I can say for certain that you really shined. You were the spotlight. What you were creating, I feel like you guys were creators of something. So maybe you were painters or artists. It's like you weren't necessarily the face of your brand, like if you were an actor or an actress, that's where you are what you're creating. It was more like you were creating something to be sold that was like this magnificent piece of art. Maybe some of you were clothing designers, for example, maybe prominent clothing designers from the past, something like that. So let's get into the cards. I'm excited. I want to see. Okay, so one of the major themes of this lifetime for you was greed versus generosity. We have the beggar card, as well as the law card. Ooh, okay, that's another interesting way to tie in this Libra energy. Libra, the Libra card in the tarot is the justice card, which is the card of like the judge, you know, the person that lays down the law, that hears both sides of an argument and says, you're the guilty party, or you're the not guilty party, or you're going to be convicted, or we're setting you free. Like it's the judge's job to kind of balance that out. Oh, sorry, I need to reset myself. Yeah, bring justice and harmony to the situation. So that could have also been an industry that you were involved in. Although with the fifth house, I'm definitely still getting something more creative. Maybe we'll dig more into that law card as we go through the rest of the cards here. Okay, we have the Leo card, the lover, goes well with the sun and the die. Wow, the Libra card, lots of Libra and Leo energy. We have the Mercury card. Mercury's all about communication. The fifth house, you guys, this is insane. I always get so excited when I see this happen, and it's funny. I wonder if I'll always be that way because it happens every time. You know, cards repeat and line up. You know, we've got Libra in the die. We've got the sun, which rules Leo, and Leo right here. We've got the fifth house in the die and the fifth house here. I mean, it just blows my mind every time. Okay, that says passion. And then we have conjunction, which says empowerment. Okay, so what I'm seeing from this, as well as that Libra energy, and even the beggar card here, is you were famous in some sort of grouping or partnership. Okay, so you and your partner were creators of something or worked together, and both of you were equally famous, but it was like without the other, it wouldn't have worked. You guys both needed each other for what it was you were creating and doing. For some of you, I'm actually getting like actual film creation. Like I'm actually being shown through this card, like Disney parks, for example. So like Walt Disney, he wasn't an actor, but he created the films and had like a studio where he created things. But yeah, that conjunction card, that means two things merging together. So it was something that was very creative, very Leo-like, but you were in a business partnership with this, or it could have even been a marriage, like a power couple marriage, where both of you maybe owned the business that you worked in, something like that. I also get a sense here that in this lifetime, I think that partnership actually ended with the greed and generosity card coming up, as well as the law card. It ended negatively. So if you guys were married, then a divorce ensued, or if it was a partnership, maybe you guys were kind of like butting heads at some point, it wasn't working. I'm also seeing music, so like music composers, so like partnerships between like a writer of songs and maybe a producer of the songs that maybe helped a lot of famous people, worked with a lot of famous people on their albums. So like those sort of partnerships. So yeah, like two different songwriters that always collaborate together, or yeah, maybe like two script writers that always collaborate together for a film, or something where it needed to be equal and both of you guys were really, really good at it and made a lot of money, but something did happen that kind of took it away from you. I feel like you lost a part of this or you lost your momentum because something with the partnership kind of failed or went haywire. Your kids could have even gotten involved in all of this with all the fifth house sort of stuff. But yeah, you created something. Let's get through the rest of the cards and maybe I'll narrow it down. All right, we have the artist. Yeah, interesting. You know what that artist card is making me think of? There's this movie, and I haven't seen the movie. I just know what it's about. It's a true story, and it's about this artist. She was a female, I think in the 60s or 70s, I think. And she made these portraits that were always like these little girls with huge eyes. And if you look them up, like you'll recognize them because they were just so popular in the 60s and 70s. She was married though, and her husband knew her art was good, but he was like, look, if you really want people to take this art seriously, if we want to be able to sell it for like a lot of money, you need to let me say that I'm the one who created the art. Because look at all the artists in history. Any well-renowned artist is always a man. So it's like he was doing it to like help them both. And I guess it worked, you know. He said that he was the artist. Maybe that did make people take the art more seriously. Who knows? But it did take off, made a ton of money eventually. But at some point, she was unhappy in the marriage and wanted to divorce. But in order to divorce him and be able to, you know, make money off of her painting, she had to prove that like she was the one who actually made all this art, that he was a liar, that it was never him, it was always her behind it. And I don't remember if she won that case or what, but that's kind of the vibes that it's giving me because that reminds me of that ugly duckling story we were talking about, where it's like you can allow someone to convince you that something's wrong with you and that you need their help to do what it is you want to do, to accomplish what you need. You're not special enough on your own, or there's something off with you. So you need someone like me to help really propel things and get things going. That feels like the situation here. So you could have been an actual artist with some sort of partner, maybe a spouse, or even an author, like a ghostwriter of some sort. But it was in this fifth house sort of industry: performance, entertainment, costumes, creativity, clothing. Like you were the creator of it, but you had this partner there with you. And I do feel that the partner helped you. Like I don't know if you could have gotten where you did without that partner, but the problem is something about their motives or their character was a little off. And so you did end up kind of losing out in the end, losing your creative freedom in the end. Okay, let's look at the other cards. All right, yep, we have the gossip card. Ooh, Beyonce, beautiful. And Sappho, interesting. Okay, so Sappho, she is a lyricist, okay? She wrote poetry and music like a long time ago, like in the BCs, okay? And she actually lived on an island called Lesbos. I think it's like in Greece or something, okay? Her works are still highly like renowned today, even as old as they are. But did you know that the term lesbian actually comes from her? Okay, because she was rumored, a lot of her poetry and stuff was about love, and she was married. No one knows for sure, okay, if she was a lesbian or not. But that was kind of what was rumored about her, that she actually had many affairs with women. And so the term lesbian comes from her because she lived on the island. It was an island, the island of Lesbos. So I thought that was interesting when I read about her. But so that with the gossip card and Sappho, that could have been an element to something that was going on here. The fifth house is about sex, not like deep, intimate, like cry afterwards sort of sex, like where two souls become one, but just passionate, good, feel good, fun type of sex. Okay, that's the fifth house. And so I feel like you were such a creative person, kind of like the tortured artist, or I don't know, like, you know, whenever you, I don't know, it seems like true artists, they all have a similar sort of vibe. You know, they have like a unique way of expressing themselves, of dressing, of even decorating their home. Like everything just is so, uh, inventive and I don't know, it feels enlightening to be around them. That's kind of the energy that you gave off. You were a very open-minded, creative genius, basically. And I do think that you were very open also with your sexuality. Not that you were promiscuous, not like that, or not that, I'm not talking about the Marilyn Monroe type of sexuality, which we've already covered in another pile here. It wasn't like that. It was more like, I want to just be open and free with my love. You know, maybe I'm curious about polyamory or homosexuality, like just very open, very free, kind of hippie like. That'd be a good way to describe it. Very hippie like with the way you viewed love and relationships. Everything was very artistic to you in nature. So that could have been something that led to your kind of downfall. And it was because of the society that you were in at that time. So this law card, like you may have actually been this creative genius, this artist who was imprisoned for something, you know, doing something illegal that wouldn't be illegal by today's standards, but maybe back then it was. Okay. So something like that, maybe an affair that got around, was known about, and caused you to somehow lose everything. That could have been the case with you. Let's look at the tarot cards here. All right, we have Ace of Wands in reverse, Eight of Swords, and Wheel of Fortune in reverse. So yeah, it's like just some bad luck, some bad timing fell on you. But you were truly a creative genius. You were a visionary. That's the word I've been trying to find. You were a visionary. Like it was either like beautiful clothing you were creating, or art pieces, or music, like something that was so visionary. But it was sad because at the same time, your energy and your mind was being confined by a society that wasn't ready for you yet. Okay, so I feel like the stuff you created has become more appreciated after your passing because society wasn't ready for this. I think a lot of it was actually condemned at the time. Maybe what you created was burned, you know, if it was books, for example, or it was just written off as like just silly and weird. But now people who look back on your works, there's a lot of respect that comes with it. Now people look back and think, wow, what a visionary. This person was so ahead of their time with what they created. It's so sad how they were perceived by others at the time. If they were born today, wow, their life would have looked totally different. So I'm feeling like a sense of persecution coming off of the cards. You were famous, okay? You did reach a level of fame, but something got exposed about you. It's kind of what I feel. Something got exposed and it led to your downfall. You had all this support, all this money, you know, all these people wanting to invest in you, and all of a sudden they find out something silly about your personal life, you know, whether that be your sexuality, which is none of their business and it doesn't matter, or who knows, something like that. Maybe it was your religious beliefs, you know, and then you lost a lot of people because of that. Something like that. You just didn't have luck on your side at this time. You were just very advanced mentally and emotionally for your time period. But wow, were you a creative genius? Just beautiful. I hope you guys are still creating in this life because you really didn't get a chance to fully express yourself in this past life, but now you can. Now you're in the place and time that's ready for you. I want to see what you create. I mean, I already am getting images of just beautiful, beautiful things. And I hope that you're still kind of like using your hands, using your voice, using your mind to create and put things out there. And I hope that you don't still question this ugly duckling inside of you, because I do feel that there is a lot of insecurity in yourself today because of this past lifetime. You know, you were in a society. It's just like the ugly duckling. He wasn't a duckling. He was a swan. He just didn't know it. So he was never going to be able to thrive living with those ducks. It was once he got to finally merge and be with the swans in his swan community that he thrived, that he flourished, that his beauty was recognized, that he was appreciated. And so you were kind of the swan living with the ducks in the past life. And you achieved fame, yes, but some of it may have even been like infamy, you know? You may have been famous for being hated in a lot of ways. You may have been famous for being ostracized, criticized, put down, okay? And so in this lifetime, you have the opportunity to be famous truly for what you create and be appreciated for that. You're in the right spot for it now. The Beyonce card says, choreograph career moves only you can follow. Your public image is your private property, and brand your benevolence. I love that second sentence. Your public image is your private property. Beyonce has done such a good job of maintaining the amount of privacy that she wants, not feeling obligated to tell everyone everything about her life, not feeling obligated to answer certain questions, to expose certain parts of herself. She keeps herself very guarded when it comes to her public life. Her personal life is where she gets vulnerable and intimate with the people that she loves. But publicly, they don't need to know any of that. It's not their business. So make sure that in this current life, you're not feeling like you owe people an explanation or a peek into the most intimate parts of yourself. Like you don't need to explain yourself. In this past lifetime, I feel like you were really like put on trial and made to feel obligated to expose every little thing about you. I'm getting a lot of Catholic imagery, okay? So this may have been a lifetime in a country that was predominantly Catholic. And of course, I am seeing some sort of trial, and that can be metaphorical or literal, almost like the Scarlet Letter, if you've read that story. Something like that was done to you. And so like the last half of your life, it was like you were famous for your dirty laundry, or what people considered your dirty laundry. And it was a shame because that completely covered up and distracted from the true beauty of who you are, the creator that you were, the visionary that you were, the artist that you were. So such a shame. But the universe is ready for you now. Society is ready for you now. So go for it. Let's see what the advice, we have 3 cards that are advice cards for this current lifetime. Spirit's already been giving you a lot of advice just through the cards we have here, but I want to see what else they have to say. All right, we have surrender to spirit. It says, once you've done everything you can to achieve a goal, turn the situation over to the divine and let spirit work its magic for you. Then we have new moon in Scorpio, and it says, work through your fears. Okay, and then here is a subconscious negative phrase that got embedded into your mind, but it's connected to this previous lifetime and what spirit wants you to replace it with. It says, now that my children are grown, I don't know what to do with my life. Spirit wants you to replace it with, every phase in life brings its own unique joy and sense of purpose. It's interesting this card's touching on children because we have the 5th house twice here in the card and in the die, which is also the house of our children. So some of you who came to this pile may have kids, and your life may truly revolve all around them. Others of you don't have children yet, but in that case for you, children kind of represents our creations, what we have created, okay? But either way, what this card is saying is that sometimes it's time to, we create something, we enjoy it while it lasts, we do with it what it needs, and then it's time to move on to the next creation, to create something new, to focus on a new project, to not stagnate, okay? People with a lot of 5th house energy, creative energy, they need to be creating. It's like part of who they are. They live and breathe that creativity. So to focus all of that creative energy just on one area, one specific thing that's going to, expire or move into a different phase is going to leave you feeling empty, without meaning. And so Spirit's wanting you to spread, really, I think Spirit wants you to create more from, not through your children, even if you already have children, but creating works of art like what I've been talking about here that you did in this past lifetime. It almost feels like you were so scarred from this life here that in your current life, it was like, well, I don't want to, no, I'm not going to create anything. And it may have gotten all poured into creating life through being a mother. Maybe that's where you put all that creative energy. And so all of your creative energy is in your kids. And at some point, your kids are going to grow up and start creating their own lives. And then where does that leave you? What do you do with all this creative energy within you now that your kids don't need it from you? And so what Spirit's saying here is like, it's time to start creating more than just life. Create art, create beauty, whatever it is that sparks you, because you're a deeply creative person and you deserve to be able to utilize that creativity in many different areas of your life, to really become fulfilled by that expressive creativity that you have. Yeah, every phase in life brings its own unique joy and sense of purpose. Creative people like to keep moving and going and going. They don't want to be stuck in just one phase. You know, the creative process, it's a never ending process. It's supposed to ebb and flow and always be changing and moving, okay? That's who you are. The only reason you're resistant to that is because of these fears. The new moon in Scorpio, which is attached very deeply to this previous lifetime of yours. You are fearful of being persecuted again in some way, of being outcast, of not being understood. And it's really keeping you from your power. It's keeping you from your beauty, and it's keeping you from your authenticity. You can breathe, you can relax, deal with those fears, work through those phobias, whatever they are, so that you can let them go. You really deserve that. And I can't wait to see what it is you create. A lot of you are listening to this pile and thinking, okay, Addison, I'm not a creative person. I've never really created anything. I've never been artistic, musical. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, the ugly duckling didn't know it was a swan until one day it just did, until one day it found the other swans and realized, oh my God, I look like them. That's me. So for some of you, you haven't even, it's so blocked off. There's so much fear because of your scarring from this previous life that you haven't really tapped into your full creative potential. But you are going to, I can guarantee you that. And you are a visionary, a good communicator. You are good at communicating your emotions, your thoughts, and your ideas through what you create, whether it's poetry, a book, a painting, a song. Like, oh, your Mercury is so strong, so good. And you know how to make people feel good with what you create. So just like the sacred lotus, I said, it takes a long time to bloom. It's a flower that really takes a long time before it finally blossoms, where people would look at it and think, oh, that's not a flower, that's just a weed, that's just a weed, that's just a weed. And then all of a sudden one day it blooms and it's gorgeous. And then everyone's like, oh my God, that's a flower? I had no clue. It just looked like a weed this whole time. That is kind of going to be your experience in life this time around. So don't be patient with yourself and don't be scared of yourself. Don't be scared of your creative power. And just like the surrender card says, surrender what you can to spirit. If there's things that you're stressed and worried about, try not to live too much in the future. You know, try not to predict, these negative predictions or worry or what if this and what if that. Just do what you need to do and leave the rest to spirit. Just surrender it to the universe and know that, look, as long as I'm doing what I needed to do today, that's what's in my control. That's what I should focus on. So I did good. Everything else is out of my control. I just gotta let it go, let it go. And so I think it's really, you guys really need to start tapping into this Leo and Libra energy that's in you. Look it up in your charts. What houses is it ruling? What planets are sitting there with it? This is about beauty, about fame, about joy, about passion, about romance, creativity. This is what your life is meant to be. I'm not sure if the switch has been turned on for all of you yet, but there's going to be a big shift and a big turning point. So buckle up and get ready because it's coming. You're about to be transformed, completely transformed. It's time to use this creative energy that was persecuted, that was put down, this uniqueness that was shamed in this previous life. It deserves a chance in your current lifetime now. And Spirit, the universe, is giving it to you. So get ready. You're going to be impressed with yourself. You're going to be really impressed with yourself and what it is that you're going to do. Okay? Trust yourself. Believe in yourself. You are a swan. You are not an ugly duckling. Okay? I'm really, really excited for you guys. Comment below. Let me know if you connected to this reading. Have you tapped into your creativity yet? Or is it still blocked from you? I would love to know, and what sort of industry you've always dreamt of going into. But I'm going to leave you guys here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Pick a Card reading. Love you guys. Hey Group 4, welcome to your reading. I can't wait to see what you were famous for in a previous lifetime and how maybe it can help you in your current life. So far the readings have been really dynamic. Each one's been very different from the next. So I'm curious about you guys. Let's take a look at the card topper you all gravitated towards. And this door has never come out for any of my readings. So I was really excited to see it because usually Spirit like literally chooses the same 6 doors every time. And the deck is like got 50 cards in it, but literally it's always the same 6. But this one I don't think I've seen before. It's got this beautiful stained glass windows up above it. Just gorgeous. On the back it says, Three-Eyed Raven. As sunrise hits upon the dew, a messenger raven caws out with news. Prepare for the unexpected. Ooh, wonder if that's a message that ties into the previous lifetime or the current one. Maybe something exciting and unexpected is coming for you. And ravens are often, they're a bird that a lot of people associate with like a negative, dark, scary energy, but I don't at all. Ravens, I think they bring, they do represent darkness, what's hidden, what's in the shadows, and that's why they can symbolize this sort of unexpected news, something that you didn't see coming at all. It was completely hidden from you. It was in the shadows, like who knew? So that sounds really exciting. Ravens are also associated with like psychic energy, psychic knowing. That's why we often see them with like witches in movies. They usually have a pet raven, or like Maleficent. Remember, she had a pet raven. So they kind of see all. They're very smart, very cunning. It's a very intelligent sort of energy. Okay, let's take a roll of the die and then we'll get into the cards. Okay, we have Saturn in Capricorn. That's good. Saturn rules Capricorn. And it's in the 2nd house. So the 2nd house has to do with our voice. So like writing, communicating in sidereal astrology. It has to do with the voice, our talents, our assets, like what increases our net worth. So it also has to do with money and finance, and our feeling of self-worth, like how much we feel we are worth as a person. Now, Saturn, that's the planet that really helps us build, but it's a disciplinarian. It's that strict fatherly figure that, yes, loves us, but also wants the best for us and demands the best of us, like whips us into shape. And it rules Capricorn, which is that same sort of energy. Capricorn wants to build an empire. It wants to build a legacy, wants to build something that will stand the test of time. Capricorn doesn't even care if it's emotionally connected to what it's doing. Just doing tough, hard work, that's what makes Capricorn feel good. Knowing that it's going to build something that will last, that's what makes it feel good. So Capricorn can really push through difficult, boring, mundane times because it wants to see that progress. It wants to get to the top of the mountain. And you know how exhausting it is to hike up a mountain? But Capricorns are the type that can do it. They'll push through it. The cold, the sweat, the pain, and what motivates them is knowing what that view is going to look like from the top, knowing that they can get to the top of that mountain and be like, I freaking did it. So that's the motivator here with Capricorn and with Saturn. So I feel like in this past lifetime for you, you were famous for the amount of wealth that you built. So your industry, I feel like, was focused around wealth, investments. You could have been from an oil family, for example, or you could have created some sort of business that had a monopoly in the market, like, you know, the guy who created Walmart, for example, something like that. But you were famous for the amount of wealth that you built and created for yourself. So you definitely would have been like one of the wealthiest people in your community, maybe even in the world, in your country. Like that's really what made you well known. But we'll see kind of more of the details of that story as we get into the rest of the cards. So let's look. Okay, so a big theme in your life was justice versus injustice. And we have the courtesan card, which is like sex worker, as well as the military. Interesting. So I almost feel like you, your job, or somehow you created wealth through something that was associated with darker aspects of life, kind of like what the Raven was talking about. So like some of you may have found a way to profit from the military. Like maybe you opened a factory that manufactured guns or bombs during World War II because you saw that there was a need for it in the market. So, okay, I'm gonna create a factory that can produce this. And wars, obviously, you know, it's associated with death and with turmoil and with darkness. And so, yes, you were kind of, I guess, a helper in murdering people, but like very indirectly, you know. And then the courtesan, it's the same thing. You may have had some sort of brothel, for example, that you owned and operated. Maybe you had several of them set up in different places in your town or in the country that became very well known, made a lot of money. So it's like you kind of looked at industries that most people or some people may like shy away from because they may be like, oh, I don't know if I want to, that's kind of a darker, scarier energy. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. You have this Saturn and Capricorn energy, and you're like, I don't care. Like if people want to buy it, if it's something, if there's a need in the market, it's better for me, honestly, that you guys don't want to get involved in it. I'll monopolize in this area. So you did something like that. So this theme of justice and injustice, it's like I don't know, for you, you thought about it in a very logical way. Like if there's a buying customer, if there's someone that needs the product, well, someone's going to have to create it. Why not be me? So you're very smart, very business minded. Let's look at the other astrological cards. All right, we have Aries, the radical. Oh yeah. Gemini, the butterfly. Sextile, opportunity. That's exactly what you did. You found a hole in the market. You found an opportunity that was untapped, that no one was willing to go into because it just seemed a little too edgy, a little too this or that. And so you did it. It kind of makes me think of, actually, I don't even know if I can talk about that on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. They might demonetize me. Okay, from the asteroid that you guys have is Chiron, which says healing. Then we have the 7th house of relating. Interesting because this card, it has the scales on it. This glass table makes it so hard for me to lift up my cards. And the justice injustice card also has the scales. So yeah, this definitely feels like it would have been an industry with customers, okay? You were balancing out a situation. It's like you saw a big need for something, so you were like, let me balance this out and go ahead and provide a supply for what these people are wanting or needing. Then we have the 11th house, which says the edge. And it feels like it was something that was enticing to people because I do think it helped them in some way. Like the courtesan, for example, the men coming to the brothel, maybe they were lonely, and like it feels like your customers are actually really thankful for whatever it was that you monopolized and created. You helped whatever industry you're in, whatever it was that you did, like helped people feel more secure somehow. Or just like if it was military involved, it's like the weapons that you built helped those soldiers feel more secure. They were glad that someone was willing to create what needed to be created. But it wouldn't have just been like a regular old weapon. It would have been something that not many people wanted to mess with. That it was like, you were like, well, I don't care. I have the courage to do it. There's an opportunity here. So the Chiron, the healing card, as well as all this Libra stuff, it feels like some sort of industry, like a brothel, okay? Or even, I could even see like some sort of like medicine, for example, that you were selling kind of underground on the black market because people couldn't afford to buy it from doctors or get the prescription. Okay, so you're going to provide it on the black market. There's something about you in this past life that feels very like Robin Hood-esque. You know how Robin Hood would like steal from the rich to give to the poor, and that was his way of obtaining justice, creating balance. Or even like, who was it, Pablo Escobar, that kind of did that same thing. Like he became this drug lord, but he at the same time was like beloved by his community because like he built the school for his community, like he put a lot back into his community. So it's interesting because you were doing something that was very much on the edge, that was even had to be like a little bit underground, like the dealings, the way you were doing it wasn't technically like legal, but it wasn't from a place of malice. Does that make sense? Like you were doing something illegal, I guess, yes, but in your mind, the fact that it was legal, the fact that it was illegal was complete injustice. In your mind, it was like, I don't understand why this isn't legal. That's unfair. That's bullshit. So I'm going to work my way around it. That's that Aries energy, the radical, and Gemini, the butterfly. This is, Gemini is known to be very communicative, good at networking, making connections with people. And the 11th house too, that's like a big network group that you established. So yeah, you could have been some sort of drug lord or underground market, like medicine creator, or it even makes me think of Bailey Sarian. She's like a true crime YouTuber that you guys should check out if you haven't. But she covers like real cases and real stories. And one of the cases she covered was this woman, I think in France or Italy, like over 100 years ago, that created like a potion that would instantly kill your husband, I guess, if you wanted. It was called aqua tofana. But she disguised her whole thing as like a apothecary. You know, she had a little store that looked legit, and she sold, you know, supposedly sold like lotions and shampoos for women. Okay. And she did sell that stuff too. But the women also knew that if they needed to get out of a marriage, like if they had an abusive husband, couldn't get out of the marriage, they could go to her and buy the aqua tofana, which would be in a little discreet bottle, just put some in their husband's food for a few days and it would kill him. And they couldn't detect it in the body or something. Okay. Which the lady doing this, I don't remember her name, in her mind, even though she was doing something illegal, it was totally fair because back at this time, over 100 years ago, a lot of the women coming to her, maybe all of them, were women who were sexually and physically abused by their husbands, mentally and emotionally as well. A lot of times the husbands were alcoholics, weren't good to the kids, and it was illegal back at this time for a woman to divorce her husband. She would have no way to make a living. The husband wasn't required to pay child support, right? So for these women, it was like the only option was just like hoping that maybe their husband would die. Okay, so even though this lady was doing something totally wrong, right? In her mind, it felt justified because she knew that the circumstances for these women weren't fair. That was what you were doing, something like that, okay? So maybe sneaking guns, like getting guns for, you know, certain people that need them, maybe ostracized groups, maybe they're not allowed to have guns, but maybe in this time period or whatever, it's like you were kind of helping get the guns in or whatever it was, you were making a ton of money, okay? A ton of money. And you weren't a bad person, okay? I don't want you to take away what I'm saying to mean that you were doing something bad. You were trying to heal something. It was like you were taking the law into your own hands and providing what you felt needed to be provided. And you were very smart, very business minded. Okay. So yeah, this is interesting. I would love to know what industry you guys are in this lifetime. I would love to know. Please let me know down below. Okay, we have the Midas and slash miser card. This is like the business person. It says entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything into gold and delight in sharing life's riches. Yeah, that's another thing about you. You were very Robin Hood-esque, like I said. So you made a lot of money, but you gave back a lot to people. Like the people that you loved, you kind of wanted to be a protector, a caretaker for them. You invested a lot in people too. You didn't just sit on your money. I mean, you spent your money wisely, okay? Like you saved, you spent it well, but you were very generous. You invested in people too. Okay, we have Jeff Bezos. Talk about a lot of money. And Diana, Princess of Wales. Perfect example of what I was just saying. Diana, Princess Diana, extremely wealthy, right? But she's known for her very generous heart, her generous spirit. You know, she was, I think, one of the first royals that went out and started working with different AIDS groups and organizations, actually willing to like hug and hold the children that had AIDS at a time when people were terrified of AIDS, terrified of catching it just by touching or interacting with someone who had it. So she was known for like just this super generous heart. But yes, she was very, very wealthy. And then Jeff Bezos, that's a perfect example of what I was saying. You guys found a hole in the market somewhere, something that no one else was doing or willing to do. Just like Jeff Bezos was like, you know what? Nowadays there should be a way to like buy books online. That's what Amazon started out as. It's just a way to buy books online. You know, that way people don't have to travel from store to store. There's a hole in the market here. And he was smart and he invested in it and did it. Now look, he's like super rich. So you guys died in this lifetime extremely freaking wealthy, but also like very, you were known a little bit as a rebel, as a radical, as the Robin Hood type, something like that. But people loved you. You really had a group of people who really loved you, and it doesn't feel like the type of people who were like, you know, upper class, high society. It feels like you weren't really interested in those type of people. Kind of like Diana. She really liked interacting with the commoners. She didn't really enjoy hanging out with the royals in the royal life. She liked to meet the regular people. That's you. Even when you were really wealthy, you didn't really like associating or hanging out with the high society folks. You liked being around like humble people. You liked feeling needed by these people too. So yeah, whatever service you were offering, your little underground sort of service, it created a whole community around you of people who really just loved you. Okay, we have Page of Wands in reverse, Seven of Swords in reverse, Gosh, everything's in reverse. 8 of Wands in reverse. Okay, King of Wands upright. There we go. Okay, interesting. So I see that you actually abandoned. So in this past life, you grew up in a pretty traditional family. Like I don't feel like your family was poor. Neither were they super ridiculously rich. Like you definitely became richer than your family through your money. But they were kind of like they followed etiquette. You know, they followed a certain religion. Like it feels like your family was quite like proper and maybe a bit constrictive. Um, and so I feel like it looks like you kind of like abandoned, like your family had you set up on some sort of path. Like you're going to get an education in this, or this is the family business. You have to learn how to do it. You know, you need to get married by this certain age. Like you had all these expectations put on you. And it feels like you escaped that. You ran away. For some of you who were men in previous lifetimes, you actually did go into the military and you became a deserter. You were like, screw this. I've got to find a way to like run away from this and create a whole new life. Kind of like Don Draper from Mad Men. You know, you created a new identity, you ran away, you never reconnected with that old family. And then it's like you found your place in the world and I don't know, you felt more authentic. You didn't like feeling restricted. Like you did in your past or from the military or from the government. You were kind of anti-government, anti-military, anti-religion. You didn't really like these big organizations. To you, those did nothing but constrict people. You were very anti that. So you kind of you were a little rebel, a freedom fighter, basically. So yeah, they had you on a certain path. I think for a lot of you went into the military. For others of you, maybe you didn't go into the military, but somehow you escaped or ran away. And it kind of feels like you didn't give your family any notice. You know, you didn't want them to know where you were ever again. You were ready to start fresh. I think most of you even changed your name or started going by something else. Like you truly stepped into a whole new identity. And that's when you kind of stepped into your power. You found your little kingdom, you found your throne, and you found the hole in the market. You were entrepreneurial and you made a lot of money, a lot of money. I do feel that most of you were male, but not all of you. Some of you were females that owned and operated brothels or like sold medicine underground, that type of thing. Others of you were, but a lot of you I feel were males, but definitely a fire sign for sure, an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius. Even with all this Capricorn energy here, there was something fiery about you. Let's take a look and see. I have 3 cards here that are supposed to be advice from Spirit on what to do with all this information now. Like, how do you use this in your current life? Why did you come to this reading, right? So let's take a look at these and see what Spirit has to say. All right, we have surrender to your intuition. It says, tune into your inner voice. Be aware of any gut feelings, flashes, knowings, or aha moments that come through to guide you. Then we have the South Node card. Don't let the past hold you back. Love that. Okay, and then this is a subconscious phrase that's negative, that's in your head now, but it actually comes from this past lifetime and what Spirit wants you to replace it with. So it says, I feel happiest if I'm busy, productive, or at work on something. Yep. The opposite says, sorry, I'm losing my voice, you guys. When I do too many piles, this is what happens. It says, I can be happy and love myself whether I am working or at rest. Yeah, you were definitely, we've got all this Capricorn energy here and this little empire that you built. You loved working. It really made you feel valuable to like have all of this money and to be able to give it to people who needed it, to have people kind of become dependent on you in a way, It made you feel good. And so you always worked because you wanted to always have that money. It really just gave you a sense of value. But it looks like, and that feeling, that good feeling you felt in this lifetime, kind of sitting on that throne, having that business, whatever it was, having people that kind of looked up to you like a little king, like a little Robin Hood, a rebel king, made you feel amazing. And so you still kind of feel that way in this life. But it looks like Spirit's really wanting you to learn how, in this lifetime at least, your purpose is to learn how to feel happy even when there's nothing to do, even when you don't have anything to do. It's really amazing that you can feel happy when you're being busy and productive. That's important. That's good. But you shouldn't you shouldn't feel like you have to be busy and productive just to feel happy. You know, you should be busy and productive because you want to or because things need to be done, but you should feel confident in knowing that, hey, even when I've got nothing to do, I'm still happy with myself. I've still got a pretty good life. So, Spirit's wanting you to kind of try and work through that in this lifetime. Try and recognize when your mind's like, nope, got to keep doing something. Try and question it. Be like, okay, but why? Is there a purpose for me doing something right now? Or am I just trying to escape my own unhappiness? Am I just not comfortable sitting with myself and being in peace and silence? Okay. The don't let your past hold you back. I think for some of you that came to this reading maybe have been to jail or prison before. Maybe you've had addiction issues before. Maybe you've, I don't know, it feels like for a lot of you that came to this pile, there's something that's occurred with you in this life that you feel like is a scar from your past, like it tarnishes you in some way, and it took away a lot of opportunities from you. Like you feel like, I can't even dream of being abundant or being wealthy because, you know, look at what I did when I was 15, 18, 20. Like that took away so many opportunities. Now I'm never going to have a chance. And so I feel like you were brought to this reading to remind yourself of this past life where you were literally a little rebel, a little outcast, you know, that ran away, that started a whole new life, a whole new identity, and created a little mini empire for yourself. So don't let your past hold you back from what you want. Be that big dreamer that you were in this life. In this life, there was nothing that could hold you down or hold you back. You know, everything to you was an opportunity. You were constantly looking for, what can I do now? What can I do now? You were never stuck in, well, but in the past I did this, so I can't dream about doing that now. Like that's not possible. So I feel like whatever it was from your past, maybe an unexpected pregnancy, for example, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it was a line of work that you were in that you feel like tarnishes you in some way. Spirit's coming through strongly to say, screw that, forget that. We're not in the past anymore. No opportunities have been taken. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You can rebrand yourself at any time. Maybe now's the time for a rebranding, a new start. Maybe move somewhere new. Maybe go by a different name if you feel like it. Like whatever it is, rebrand. You can do it at any time that you want to. And then the surrender to your intuition card, gosh, my voice, I feel like lines up with the three-eyed raven card. Something unexpected, I think, is coming in for you. I feel like it's a good thing. It's going to be an opportunity. And I feel like it's not going to be something told directly to you. It'll be more like something you overhear someone else talking about, or that you kind of scroll through on social media and it pops up. Feels like an opportunity. Like maybe it's an event that you overhear someone talking about, maybe some sort of business conference. And so you kind of overhear it, and then just keep your mind open to that and aware, because Spirit's going to send you some sort of message, some sort of unexpected opportunity that you're going to kind of overhear or see, but you've got to take action and pursue it. Okay. So surrender to your intuition and keep it open during this time, because I feel like there's something, some sort of business conference or opportunity, or maybe it is some sort of festival, or maybe it's some new website, or who knows, something like that that is going to be a really big opportunity and a catalyst for this sort of rebranding, stepping back into this bold, radical energy that you came from in this previous lifetime and using it in this life, but doing it even better in this life. Because in this lifetime, you're going to balance out that busy, productive worker energy that you had with quiet time, with meditation, with inner peace, inner joy, with intimate relationships. Okay, so it's going to be even better this time. So keep your mind open. Come back and leave me a comment when the three-eyed raven message does come through. I would love to know what it is that comes to you. I think it'll be in the next 30 to 90 days. Okay, the next 3 months, something like that's going to come. And I feel like you're going to be signing yourself up for something, enrolling in something, moving somewhere, or meeting someone. Okay, something like that. So get excited, get ready. All right, I want to thank you so much for coming to today's reading. I'm so sorry my voice is gone. I still got 2 more piles to get through. What am I going to do, you guys? But I love you all. Thank you for letting me provide this reading for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Pick a Card reading. Bye. Hey Group 5, welcome to your reading. I can't wait to see what you were famous for in a previous lifetime and what Spirit wants you to do with this information now in your current life. So let's look at the card topper you all gravitated towards. Strong, sturdy door, very big, very ornate. On the back, it says freedom flows. Don't hold yourself back from worldly freedom. Dream grand things for divine sacred reason. So maybe in this lifetime, you guys are having a hard time believing in your dreams. That can be a very common experience for most of us. And, some dreams truly are out of reach for certain people. A lot of things depend on the circumstances we're in, the society and time period we're born into. Like some things are impossible, but God also, or the universe also, gifts us with a purpose in each lifetime. And so if a big grand dream of yours is actually a part of your purpose, is why you came down here and incarnated, then it will be possible for you because you're going to have the universe behind you, God behind you, making sure that things happen the way they need to, that things unfold. As long as you are believing, as long as you're pushing through, you can do it. So maybe some of your dreams in this life, you've kind of resigned. It's like, that's not really possible because of my circumstances, this, that, or the other. Like, it doesn't make sense that I could achieve that. And yeah, maybe logically that's true, but what I'm seeing in this card is that in this particular instance, in your case, with this particular dream, it is a part of your purpose. So it's not too big. It's not too much to ask for. It's not too much to go for. You can do it. And maybe this past life will be some sort of inspiration for you, a reminder of what you've accomplished before or why you're actually here now. So let's take a roll of the die and then we'll start looking into the cards. All right, we have Uranus in Libra in the 9th house. Okay, so the 9th house is about travel, foreign lands, foreign languages. It's also about college, higher education, like really becoming a master, a teacher, a professor in a certain area. So intelligence, and it's also about religion, our higher spiritual beliefs, religious institutions, law, all these sorts of things. Uranus is the planet of kind of like shock and rebellion. Uranus wants to electrify things. It wants to do something shocking, but for the sake of pushing something forward. It's a quick way of moving something forward. It's like a shock to the system, like an aha moment or a wake-up call. And it's genius type energy because it's a very electrical sort of energy. It's like where something just comes in and it's like, oh my gosh, this is it. It also relates to technology, online endeavors, things like that, social media, all that's like very Uranus-y. And then Libra is an air sign. It's about balance. It's about Libra can involve like law, the courts, the justice system as well. It can also involve marriages, which also require the court, law, justice system to happen, like legalizing a marriage, or business partnerships. So this must have been kind of the area of life that you guys were in. I almost get a sense that in a previous lifetime you were famous for being some sort of political leader, like a politician, a president, or a famous judge or king or queen, some sort of political leader, but you would have been like a shocking sort of leader. Like the stuff that you were doing, it was like you enacted a lot of quick changes. And you probably would have had a lot of haters as well as a lot of people that adored you. So you were in some sort of industry that was very politicized, and came with it that sort of polar opposite sort of thing where people were against you and people were for you. Something about you was like shocking and different and made people kind of question your authority at first. But I do feel that you gained that authority, you had that authority, but you did a lot of things that were like really unprecedented for the time. It kind of reminds me of, I remember years ago, like and I'm not Catholic or anything, but I have a lot of family from Brazil, and Brazil is very much like a Catholic country. So I don't really keep up with the Pope too much, but I know a little bit. And I remember a few years ago when Pope Francis became the new Pope, okay? And then I remember when we had a big push for like gay rights and legalizing gay marriage. And the Catholic Church has always been very kind of anti-gay, anti-homosexuality. And Pope Francis actually spoke out like in favor of he wanted to support the gay. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something that kind of made it seem like, oh my gosh, he supports gay marriage, he supports homosexuality, he, loves gay people. That should be something that like everyone should just do anyways, right? Okay, so I'm not trying to like praise him or anything for it, but it was very unprecedented for a Catholic, for a pope to come out and say something like he did was shocking and unprecedented, very unexpected. But it was something that progressed, right? It was forward moving, it was progressive, it was good, it was positive. But it created, when Pope Francis did that, I think there were a lot of people in the Catholic Church who were angry at him for that, who thought it was ridiculous, who thought it was anti-Catholic. And then there was a whole other side that was excited about it, that was happy that a pope was saying these positive things about the gay community. So that's the type of like leader I feel like you were. You were doing things that were shocking and very progressive and very ahead of their time. And so I think there were a lot of people that were against you and a lot that were for you as well. So that's where you kind of got your fame from. It was the shockingness of how you became what you became and what you did during your political reign that brought you fame, that makes you stand out in the history books, makes you stand out from all the other people who held that same position from you. So I do feel that all of you who gravitated towards this pile, you can definitely find yourself in history books of, different countries. You would have been a prominent leader, king, queen, president, a senator, a representative, some sort of politician. I know in every country the political system is built a little bit differently, right? But something like that, I think, for most of you. But we'll see. Maybe that narrative will expand as we get into the rest of the cards. But that is kind of the main thing that I'm feeling. Let's take a look at the cards. Okay, so a major theme in this lifetime for you was betrayal. Interesting. Yep. And then we have the government card. I just love that. Thank you, Spirit. Spirit always lines things up so nicely. It's so cool to see how all the right cards are selected, the dies roll out and match perfectly. That's just awesome. So what I'm instantly getting from this betrayal and government card is a story of Julius Caesar. Do you guys remember reading about that in high school? He was a leader in, God, Greece or Rome. I really need to brush up on my history. But he was literally stabbed, and he rose to a position of leadership. He was making a lot of important changes. He was, a good leader. And then his best friend, stabbed in the back, killed him because his best friend wanted to be the leader. And actually, I don't even know if that was, okay, now I'm feeling dumb because I don't even know if that's an actual, that is a person in history, right? Because now I'm thinking, was that just a play? I know it's been done as a play many, many times. So now I'm questioning myself. Was that a fictional play that's super famous, or was that actually something that happened? Someone in the comments help me out, because now I feel like an idiot. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here. So during your reign, during your kind of rise, your political rise and whatever you were doing, I do think you made a lot of enemies, and may have felt throughout your life kind of constantly stabbed in the back by people that you thought you could trust because of the politics of everything going on. But I don't feel like you let it get you down too much. It was kind of a theme of your life that you accepted. Like, yep, that's just how life goes. People are always kind of out to get each other, one up each other. That's just life. Okay, let's look at the rest of the cards. All right, we have Aquarius, the innovator. Uranus, which came up in the die, rules Aquarius. Then we have Taurus, the bombshell. We have the square, which represents a challenge. We have Uranus again, so on the die and now in the card. How cool is that? Which says revolution. God, this is crazy. Then we have the 9th house, which also came up in the die, seeking, and the 8th house of intimacy. So I do feel that you were married in this lifetime and your partner stabbed you in the back. Either sold you out for some reason, revealed secrets of yours, or had an affair on you with someone close to you, something like that. So I think that left some unresolved issues with your heart coming into this lifetime and relationships. Because I don't know if you really dealt with that in this previous lifetime. So interesting. Okay, let's look at these cards. We have the Samaritan. That's perfect for a government worker. It says refines your capacity to help those that you would prefer to ignore. So someone who helps people that most other people would just ignore or bypass. Then we have Indra Nooyi, if I'm saying that right. She is, I think she's the CEO at Pepsi, which is very cool because she's a woman of color. And I don't think Pepsi had a woman of color as a CEO before her. It says the customer is always right, especially when hungry. Baked chips feed blue chips and never sugarcoat a need for change. Okay, quick message I'm getting for some of you. Even though for a lot of you, the person you were in this previous life was male, for some of you, you were a female political leader, or perhaps even a person of color that got into a spot of political leadership through your actions, through the work that you were doing. And that's kind of what made you this sort of shocking, uncertain figure to others. Like there was a whole group of people that are like, I don't know if I can trust that person. I don't know if they're right for the position. How did they get there? And then there was all these shocking progressive things that you were doing. So you were constantly being challenged by the people around you. But God, you were strong. You really didn't let it bother you. It just rolled off your back. Like you were so used to the hate. You just didn't care. You didn't let it distract you. But that's really what made you, that's what gave you this sort of Uranus energy. Like you were someone that others really thought shouldn't have made it to that position, whether it was because of your race, ethnicity, religion, your gender, or whatever it was. It seems like there were people who were like, they shouldn't be in that position. How did they get there? It was like a constant issue that you were kind of dealing with. Oh, wow. Okay, we have Elizabeth the First. That's actually perfect. Elizabeth I, she obviously was a queen in England, but she had a lot of haters because, okay, her dad was Henry VIII, and Henry VIII had like, I think 8 wives or something over the course of his life. And he was Catholic, so you weren't supposed to divorce back then. So he always found a way around it. Like I think he killed a couple of his wives. Actually, he killed her mother. I think her mother was his second wife, who was killed by Henry VIII when Elizabeth was just like 2.5 years old. And it was literally just because he didn't want to be married to her anymore. So we needed to find a way around that. So he killed her. So then Henry VIII dies, and she's not considered a legitimate child because, or maybe he divorced Anne Boleyn and killed her. I don't remember. But she was considered an illegitimate child because she was from his second marriage. And Henry VIII had his second marriage annulled. That was his get around with the Catholic Church is, oh, well, let me just have the Catholic Church annul this marriage so it doesn't count. So she was not supposed to end up on the throne. His son takes the throne over when he dies. And then his son wrote in his will that, hey, when I die, I want my wife to take the throne. But so her brother takes the throne and then dies and is giving the throne now to his wife, I think. But she actually somehow like fights for the throne and gets it. I don't remember how. But before she got to the throne, she had been imprisoned. Like she had had all sorts of things. So she was viewed as an illegitimate child who shouldn't have made it to the throne, who was female. She also was known as the Virgin Queen because she never married, never had kids, and never wanted to. So she was this very kind of odd Uranus character that I'm talking about. But that's why she's one of the most well-known queens of England, is because of this story of like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Like she had so many haters and this and that. And not only that, when she got to the throne, she changed England from like a Catholic ruled country to, I think, a Protestant ruled country. So for years and years, it had been all about Catholicism. She gets to the throne and she's like, no, I'm going to change this. And that was already when people were kind of iffy about her anyways. So this is the type of leader that you were. It was like there was something controversial about how you got to where you got, and you continue being controversial with the progressive changes that you just made, and you just didn't care. You were not the type of person that needed people to like you. You were so unbothered by that. You just didn't care. You wanted to do what needed to be done. You were confident in your decisions. You were stubborn in your decisions, definitely, with this Taurus energy. It's like once you got your mind on something and said, no, this is what needs to be done, you didn't care. You didn't care. You wanted to cause a revolution. You wanted to make changes. This card says, have the heart of a man and the body of a woman. I would rather be a beggar and single than a queen and married. And that's a quote from her. And then another quote from her says, a clear and innocent conscience fears nothing. Yeah, exactly. That was exactly how you felt. I know that my conscience is clean and clear. So why would I be scared of anything? I'm going to do what needs to be done, do what's right. So I feel like for those of you who came to this pile, there's many different countries that many of you are from, but definitely in the history books of those countries, the political books of those countries, you're in them, okay? You guys are all kind of prominent people like this Elizabeth I. One of you may actually be Elizabeth I. If you've always felt connected to her in some way, maybe that's why, which is pretty crazy. But you guys were all these sort of leaders that became known because of kind of the shocking things that led to your rise, and then the shocking things you did once you rose to the throne. But they were all like shocking in a good way. Like when we look back on history and look at kind of the things that Elizabeth I did for England, it's in a positive light, even though she may have had a lot of haters back when she was on the throne. That's kind of how it was for you too. Like you experienced this betrayal. That was a huge theme in your life. You had this feeling of, look, I can't trust anyone but myself. So I'm not listening to anyone else's opinions but my own, because everyone else is just out to betray me. That's kind of how you viewed life and viewed people. Like, I've just got to trust me and be with me. I'm not trusting anyone else. So I'm doing what I need to do. Okay, let's look at the tarot. We have Queen of Pentacles, Six of Cups, Three of Swords. There's that betrayal. Three of Pentacles, and King of Cups. Beautiful. Yeah, so it feels like the first part of, I do feel here in the cards that you, in this previous lifetime, you were not raised by your mother. You either lost her to death or divorce or who knows, but you lost your mother at a very early age, and you were actually mostly raised by kind of an elder sibling. I don't feel like this sibling was much older than you even. Maybe dad was just really busy. I don't know, but you were kind of raised by other kids, other siblings in your life. You didn't really have adult figures in your life. Even if you did have a dad, it's like he wasn't really a present figure for you. There wasn't a deep relationship there, okay? And so that's kind of what led to this feeling of something happened that made you feel very betrayed by life, by people in general. Like you can't really trust anyone or anything but yourself. And I do feel that for some of you, you were perhaps you were jailed or imprisoned for a time, or someone may have lied, like blamed you for a crime that you actually didn't commit. Maybe it was someone that was actually close to you, or someone outed you or one of your secrets. Something like that really led you to kind of cut off even the few relationships that you did have up to that point. I feel like a relationship with a sibling was even ended through this, a sibling that you really loved and trusted up until this point. Like something happened that made you feel very betrayed by them. And so you did not want to collaborate or work with people anymore. Like from then on out, it was like, nope, I'm doing everything on my own. I'm not going to talk to anyone about what I'm doing. I'm not going to ask anyone for help with what I'm doing. I'm going to do what I want in career, but it's going to be on my own with no one knowing any of the plans or anything about it. But I do see that you ended up here. This is King of Cups, so this is very good. So you had a very, whether you were male or female in this previous life, you had a very strong masculine energy about you. You were very comfortable. Your divine masculinity, which were all a mixture of both, was the most prominent within you. It was the strongest part of you. And it's interesting because you didn't really allow yourself to feel too many emotions, but you had a very good understanding of what other people feel. And you didn't understand it in the sense of, you know, like if a person cried about something, you would start crying. No, you weren't like that. But it was weird. It was like you didn't have to make yourself feel those emotions to know what it is they're feeling. So you were known as, you did lead with empathy, but it wasn't in like that you would be crying if you were with people who were hurting to show them that you were late. Not like that. But the decisions that you made were based on, I know that this is really hurting people, so we're going to do something about that. I know that this makes people sad or makes people angry, so we're going to do something about that. But you didn't sink into those emotions or feel them for yourselves. You had very good emotional boundaries about you that protected you from that. But you did lead from your heart, truly. You wanted progress. You wanted to see progress. Okay, let's look at the three cards we have here that's supposed to be advice from Spirit. What are you supposed to do with this information now? Like, how are you supposed to use this in your current life? So let's look at the three cards Spirit gave you. Okay, we have surrender to divine timing. It says sometimes divine timing may differ from your ego's timing. If a goal isn't manifesting fast enough according to your ego, be patient and trust the universal flow. I like that with the Elizabeth I card because remember, she didn't think that she was ever going to ascend to the throne. It seemed pretty clear that, like, they'd already said that was impossible for her and it wasn't going to happen. And not only that, but I think she had even been imprisoned at some point for some sort of rebellion or something she was trying to start before she ever got to the throne. So she really had to surrender to divine timing. Like once she got to the throne, then she looked back and understood, like, oh, if I shouldn't have worried about where I was headed. Maybe she didn't. I'm just using her as an example. Everything kind of happens in the right time, according to universal time. So that's what Spirit's wanting you to do in this life. There's certain things, certain dreams, kind of like what we talked about here, that you don't need to let go of them. Okay, don't let go of those dreams. Hold on to them and truly believe that they're coming for you, that the universe has its own timing. Okay, so keep doing what you need to do to try and meet up with those dreams, but don't get angry or frustrated with the timing. Be patient with it. Okay, it'll come when it's meant to come. And then you're going to be grateful looking back that it came right at that time. You're going to understand how it all links up together. Wow, we have the new moon eclipse. It says expect powerful change. Beautiful. And then here is a subconscious phrase that's carried over from this past lifetime and what Spirit wants you to replace it with. So this says, stress goes straight to my head. I tend to get headaches and have eye and ear problems. Spirit wants you to replace it with, I have a healthy, flexible, balanced way of seeing, thinking, and reacting to the world around me. I have a healthy, flexible, balanced way of seeing, thinking, and reacting to the world around me. So I feel like in this lifetime, you're supposed to be kind of healing this, okay? And learning how to feel your emotions. You know how I talked about in this previous lifetime? It was like you were really good at knowing and understanding what other people felt, but you didn't allow yourself to actually feel it. And I think it was because of this restricted heart, this very guarded heart. It was too painful. You didn't want to go there. You didn't want to feel those emotions because that's where things get dangerous, especially if you have this belief that everyone's out to get you in the end. Everyone's out to stab you in the back in the end. So why am I going to feel these emotions? But I feel like in this lifetime, you're supposed to be kind of learning how to awaken those emotions again, truly feel them, let yourself feel them, don't hold things in, okay? When things get held in, kind of like what this card was saying, we start viewing everything in a really unbalanced way. Things become distorted, emotions get pent up inside of us, and then that reflects in our body through things like headaches, vision issues. So you've got to express those emotions, let yourself feel them and get them out. But there's obviously some big changes coming up for you. I think in career especially. And I'm also feeling for love life for a lot of you. I think a lot of you have had your heart closed off for a long time. Maybe you've dealt with a broken heart or just decided from a young age you didn't want anything to do with relationships. I think for a lot of you, someone's coming in and it's really gonna like blow your mind, basically. You're gonna be feeling things you've never felt before. But go ahead and let your guard down. Allow yourself to feel it. You accomplished so much in this previous lifetime when it comes to kind of government work, political work, and all of that, but I didn't pick up on anything in relation to family, children, personal life. And I feel like now's your opportunity to really invest in that, to gain some wisdom in that area of your life and not be so totally focused on this type of stuff, government and education and all that. Like create a good balance with it. Your soul's here in this lifetime to kind of learn some new things along with taking this wisdom from your past and using it in career. Absolutely. If you considered like government work of any sort, you guys would be a natural at it, quite honestly. So I think you should go for it. And also let go of this belief that the world is out to get you, that people can't be trusted, that people are really just out to get you in the end. No, you've got people in this life that are open to loving you, that want intimacy with you, that want to see your vulnerability. All right. So that kind of knee-jerk reaction you have to kind of close off from people and guard up your heart, it's connected to this past lifetime where yeah, you were betrayed and you did have to really toughen up and harden up in order to get through it and do what needed to be done. But now in this lifetime, it's a different day and age. It's a different type of society. You have the ability to be soft, to be vulnerable, and to be respected. Okay? You can be both. So that's what I want to see for you guys. All right, I'm going to leave you guys here, but I want to thank you so much for coming, for allowing me to do this reading for you. Sorry, my voice is gone. I made it, right? We barely got here. Comment below if you enjoyed the reading. I would love to know, and I look forward to seeing you in my next pick a card reading. Bye, my lovely. Hey group 6, welcome to your reading. My voice probably sounds a little bit different because for the last 2 piles it's gotten really hoarse by the end. So I'll try and get through. I may have to take a couple sips of water in between to help, but I'm not sick or anything. It's just from talking for 3 hours straight without a pause. So let's get into your past life, what the heck you were famous for, and what Spirit wants you to do with this information in terms of your current life. So let's look at the card topper you all gravitated towards, which is beautiful. It's the only card topper that's got a person in it dancing. Looks lovely, white, bright. You can see the sun. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's right above her. The back of the card says, yes. Kiss the ground and touch the sky. Your soul is set now to leap and to fly. So the first initial vibe I kind of got from that card when I looked at it, and we'll see as we get through the piles, is I almost wonder if you guys were a spiritual service somehow to people and gained a lot of fame that way, like some sort of spiritual guru or leader, something like that. But we'll see. But something about you feels very light and very white, very cleansed, very kind of godly, holy in a way. So, and for some of you, I'm getting like a younger energy, like you may have been famous as a child, actually, not as an adult, because I am getting a younger energy here. So we'll see as we get into the cards. Let's start with a roll of the die, though. Oh my gosh, it's completely rolled off. Let's roll it again. All right, so we've got, Jupiter in Scorpio in the 12th house. So Jupiter is that spiritual guru, the religious leader, and the 12th house has to do with spirituality, the type of spirituality that kind of like isolates you, like, the guru that like meditates on the edge of the mountain and like fasts, 40 days out of the year, or like the nun, or I don't know, someone who creates like a community for like a small group of people, some sort of religious or spiritual community, something like that. And Scorpio coming up makes me think it has to do with the occult for a lot of you. So like witchcraft, astrology, or sort of like persecuted occult religions, belief systems, or practices. So something about this feels very underground. So you were famous, but in an underground sort of way. Okay, in it, you were like a part of a secret society, I guess is the way to put it. Something that was hidden and secretive, but yes, powerful and influential, but maybe not something that everyone knew. We'll see if we get into the cards if maybe this was something that was like discovered, maybe you were outed, maybe it is in history books nowadays after the fact. We'll see as we get further into it, but I'm feeling something very spiritual and secretive and occult. Okay, let's look at the cards. Okay, so a big theme of this lifetime for you was abundance and penury, or like lack of abundance. Okay, we have the Mother card and the Education card. Okay, so for some of you, you had a child that was famous. Like I'm actually getting like Asia vibes for some of you. It won't apply to all, but some sort of like, or even Egyptian, like an Asian or Egyptian child leader. okay? Like a child that was born and from a very young age, like it was decided that he or she was supposed to be kind of the leader of the group and was kind of put up on the throne from a very early age, and you were that child's mother. That kind of seems to be a big theme for a lot of you. But for others of you, it was this education realm. You could have actually been a really, really famous philosopher. I didn't even think about philosophy when I was thinking about occult stuff, but a really famous philosopher that kind of educated this small sort of underground group of people. And it was something that wasn't popularized or well known maybe at the time, but like now it is worldwide. So let's look at the rest of the cards here. All right, we have Capricorn, the boss, Cancer, the doula. Cancer kind of rules motherhood and mothering energy. So I definitely feel that for all of you, the child that you raised or had, okay, this is interesting. Either it was your mother that brought you to a place of fame at a young age, it could have been that, or it could have been that the child that you had was the one that was famous. You were kind of well known for being the mother of that child, kind of like Mother Mary with baby Jesus. Or it was that you were famous in your own right in this sort of occult realm, the spiritual, philosophical realm, but your child also continued on that legacy of fame. May have even become more famous or more well known than you, but it was due to your teachings and you already having that platform. So that's kind of the three. I'm sorry, this group feels quite mixed, okay? So kind of feel out which one you're resonating with as I continue speaking about this past life, but something like that. All right, we have the opposition card, which says balance. The Saturn card, which says wisdom. First house of the self, and the third house of perception. Yeah, Capricorn and Cancer, it's funny that these two came up and then the opposition comes up, which is about opposites. Cancer and Capricorn are opposites. So there was this interesting balance about you. It's like you were able to use this Capricorn energy when you needed to and use this Cancer energy when you needed to. And I feel like you used both in order to lead and teach people. It almost feels like at work or during the day, you were all Capricorn, you were all about being the boss. But then once work was done and you were home, it was like you had a totally different persona. You know, then it was that Cancer, more vulnerable, more intimate sort of energy. So you were really, really good at balancing out your life. And you had a deep, profound wisdom about you. Like I feel like your life was actually quite calm, introspective, quiet. So if you were a philosopher, it was a lot of like writing, a lot of thought-provoking sort of conversations, but there was a deep gentleness about your life. You liked to look at things in a new way. You liked to question things. You were very curious, but you sat in your own thoughts like a lot. But you had a lot of really profound revelations through your studies, through your investigations. And I do think a lot of you could have been a part of, there was actually an underground society in Europe that is responsible for creating and crafting the tarot. It was a large group of very well-educated people. You should look into that. You could have been a part of that sort of group, or you could have been a part of, like you could have been one of the philosophers in Greece or in Rome, for example, or gosh, what else? I don't know, or some sort of like small religious sect, you know, that would like separated itself from the rest of society. Kind of like you remember back during the hippie movement when a bunch of hippies wanted to like, they created their own little groups and went and lived off the land, and or like the Amish people. Like it was something like that, but obviously you were famous for it. So this is a group that would be able to be found in research books, history books, well known. And there would have been some connection with a child as well. Like the child was also famous, okay? Or you were famous for birthing that child. So it's either that route or that you were some sort of philosopher, educator, teacher of like occult spiritual knowledge, all right? Because the third house rules perception, communication, perspective, like small communities. So I feel like in your lifetime, your focus was on this small group of people, this small community, but it's like after your death or after your life, the teachings that you instigated became famous kind of on a grander scale or worldwide. But that wasn't your focus during your life. Like you weren't trying to become famous. Not at all. Your focus was on your little community, your little life. Again, you were a very balanced sort of person. You liked your solitude, you liked your quiet time. But whatever you were researching and studying and writing about, it became well known and famous like after your death. Like your thoughts, your perspective on things, who you were as a person became famous after your death, if that makes sense. All right, we have the networker card. It says enhances unity through the sharing of information and engenders social awareness and empathy. Yeah, that's what you did. But it's funny because you weren't trying to like change the world, but you kind of did. You were trying to just talk to the people who were close to you, around you, people who wanted to hear from you. And this does feel like during a time period where it's like there wasn't internet, you know, there wasn't a quick way to like get information across or out worldwide. The focus really just had to be on your little community. So that's definitely what you did. But over time, it did end up spreading. And you had what you did, you know, made a difference. You have a lot of like fans for it in terms of whatever you did in this lifetime, you definitely still have fans today of your works, whatever they are. Okay, we have Jane Fonda and Josephine Baker. Okay, Jane Fonda. It says, if your influence has legs, keep them moving. A mugshot is a free headshot. A name that looks good in lights looks better on a petition. Josephine Baker says, you only need a bunch of bananas to make an impression. It's not about beauty, it's about luck and who loves you. Dance your way into immortal love. You know, Josephine Baker, she adopted 12 children. Yeah. And she adopted children from all colors and backgrounds. And it's because she wanted to make a statement to the world that people of all colors could consider themselves brother and sister. So she created this very colorful family to be kind of an inspiration to the world and to others that you can create sort of a loving bond, a brotherly, sisterly bond with anyone of any color, race, or background. She was very ahead of her time in that sense. And, you know, she is American born, but she became famous in France as an artist. You know, she was a dancer. But when I was reading about her life, I thought that was really beautiful and fascinating that she cared about this sort of more spiritual cause of hers, which was her motherhood and all of these children that she adopted. And actually, it goes perfect with the mother card that came out. Because I think for Josephine Baker, that was considered kind of the most important thing that she did in her life. Even with all of her success as a performer, that was kind of the most important thing to her was I'm raising the next generation of kids. And what difference do I want to make in their lives and how can I do that? What better way to do that than through raising them myself as my children and making this statement this way? So yeah, a very spiritual, wise sort of endeavor, a thing that she did that fits in well with kind of what you guys accomplished in this past life. But definitely with these three cards, we've got Jane Fonda, Josephine Baker, and the Mother card and the Cancer card. I'm definitely feeling that you were female in your past life. So you could have been some sort of female educator. Maybe you were one of those female educators back a long time ago that was kind of secretly teaching girls how to read and write, you know, and do things that they weren't able to do in public schools. So you had this underground system for it. Something like that, where you were kind of taking people under your wing and just trying to make a difference really in their lives. You know, you weren't trying to like change the world or become famous, but somehow your story got told through the generations and you are famous when we look through history books and things for whatever it was that you did for the children that you raised or for the people that you impacted. Like you were forward thinking, progressive, but you really just wanted to show love to people. You wanted to do what needed to be done, stand strong, stand firm in what needed to be done, but you were really just trying to show people love, show people like unconditional love, the type of love that we talk about when we think about the way that God loves us, that the Creator loves us. You wanted to be that for other people. And so that's what you were famous for. So you guys made a difference somehow in like a small community or an underground community with a focus on this, with a focus on children, I think, and educating and teaching children. Something like that. Let's look at the tarot. All right, we have 5 of Wands in reverse, 2 of Cups, and the sun, another child. So yeah, I'm getting like Mother Mary vibes for sure. What else? I wish I knew. I need to know more people in history, honestly. But oh, and then I talked about uh, those Egyptian vibes. Like, who was the mother of like King Tut? You guys remember reading about King Tut in Egyptian history? He like had to take over the throne when he was like, I don't know, 12. He was like the youngest king ever. And in Egypt, they kind of considered the kings or the rulers like gods. And so he had to ascend to the throne. I don't think it was because his mom was dead, though. I think his mom was still alive. So, like, I could see you, one of you guys being like her, the mother to King Tut, or like, yeah, the mother to some sort of famous guru or someone that was considered like a god. Um, or yeah, something with this underground sort of society. But we see here with the Five of Wands reversed, this is like conflict, people just being prideful and just arguing around in circles. You were, whatever you did, it's like you didn't go into the conflict. You didn't really want to have anything to do with that. You were not about to grab a stick and join and help, pick sides and help a side win. You really didn't care about that. You were focused more on the one-on-one interaction, the difference that I can make just with this one person. Like, you didn't want to bother yourself with all the other chaos going on, or try and change the world. Like, you were kind of changing the world like one person at a time, one intimate, close, loving relationship at a time. And you really poured your heart and soul into the individuals that you interacted with. You really made people feel like they were the only person in the room and they were what mattered to you at that time. So, and I do feel like it was a focus on kind of the younger generation. You wanted to leave an impression on them. You wanted to make them think a little bit differently, change their perceptions, but you did it in a really gentle sort of way. So, in a way that really did have an impact, much more than this silly stuff over here. So, yeah, you were kind of very like godlike, very holy in a way. Like, you weren't a prideful person. You weren't temperamental or angry. You definitely weren't selfish. You were kind of like, like a Jesus in a sense, just very holy, very spiritual, and it was easy for you to kind of unconditionally love the people who were under your care. So let's look at what this has to do with your current life, or what Spirit wants you to take away from this in terms of your current life. I have 3 cards here, so let's take a peek at that. All right, we have surrender, stress. It says, take a few deep breaths and exhale the tension you've built up in your body. Let the stress go as you come back to your center. Then we have new moon in Sagittarius. It says, luck is on your side. Okay, and then this is going to show us a subconscious phrase that carried over from this past life and what Spirit wants you to replace it with. Okay, it says, a lot of people get opportunities that I'll never get. People are potential adversaries. And on the flip side, it says, with the help of a loving friend or skillful guide, I now unearth my unique creativity and give birth to it in a supportive community. That's beautiful. So yeah, I feel like there is this feeling that whatever you were doing in this previous life that made you famous later on had to be very underground and very secretive, because maybe you would have been killed for doing it or persecuted. Like, you couldn't really share your true thoughts and feelings with all of society. It had to be with just a small group of people that you could trust. So there was kind of a feeling that the outside world was filled with a lot of adversaries, a lot of people who were just relentlessly going around in circles and fighting over nothing. And so I think that sort of feeling kind of carried over into your current life, where you may feel like you don't have a safe space to really share your knowledge and share what you know, make an impact in the way that you want. But what I'm seeing here in this card is just a reminder that, you're in a different time period. You're in a different place. You can let go of those fears. You can let go of the stress surrounding you when you decide to pursue this, that, or the other. I also get a feeling that in this current life, you may feel like you are, like, you don't have anyone to go to really confide in. Like, you may be one of those people that feels like maybe everyone comes to you for advice, but you don't have anyone to go to for advice. Not because the people around you are bad or mean or anything like that, but because you kind of feel that you're more mature and more wise than them. So it's like, who do I go to when I need help? I'm not going to them. I don't trust their opinion, but I need help with, I need advice, I need guidance, but I don't have anyone to go to. Everyone comes to me, they trust my wisdom, but who do I go to? So I feel like that's also something you're kind of working through in this life, because I know you probably maybe felt that. I don't feel that you felt that way back in this life, actually. I think you really enjoyed being that person that people came to. But I feel like now it kind of feels tiring. You're kind of sick of that. You're really, really ready to like find true partners, true equals, people that you can go to when you're in doubt and really trust what they have to say. Really feel that they maybe have just as much knowledge or even more so than you. I think you're really craving that. You weren't in this previous life, but like I feel like it's getting a little bit old for you. But I also see in this previous lifetime that you did have a healthy, loving, happy relationship with a partner that truly was equal to you. You guys balanced each other out really well. You worked really well together. You could really confide in this person and trust in them. And you guys created this beautiful, beautiful child, which also became famous in their own right. So I feel like part of you really misses that. That feeling of fulfillment that you had in this previous life. Through this, you had this tiny community that was very connected to one another, and I think you're craving that. You loved kind of this experience with motherhood, with marriage, and you really adored this child, and you adored your spouse. So I feel like part of you kind of didn't want to leave this life here. And so I think that subconsciously, you're still kind of dealing with that loss in a sense too. That was hard for you. But Spirit's really wanting you to kind of surrender your stress. Remember that luck is on your side, okay? You don't have anything to stress about. In fact, you guys accrued a lot of good karma in this lifetime. And that's the first group I've said that to. And all the other groups have done great things too. But for some reason, Spirit's telling me to let you guys know that you accrued a lot of good karma in this lifetime that is going to be paid back to you in this current life. So you need to let go of the stress, the worries, the anxieties you may feel. Remember, you've got luck on your side. You earned it here. You were such a peaceful person in this lifetime. Like, you were known for creating peace. You were famous for being godlike, spiritual, peaceful, wise. You were like a sage. So some famous person in history that fits those qualities, that was who you were. And you earned a lot of good karma. So you don't need to be too stressed out or worried about too much. Do what you need to do, which I know you will, because I see in your soul you're just that type of person. But you've got luck on your side. In fact, I bet some of you have Jupiter in your first house, which brings you that sort of natural luck. And that Jupiter in the first house is this blessing from your previous lifetime through what you did. So try and let that go. Find your peace in this life. Find your community, like create one again if that's what you need. Maybe it's time to do that. Start finding people that feel more equal to you. Find your passion project. Find your peace. I'm feeling sad for this group because I feel like there's a lack of peace in your life. And that must hurt even more so now because your soul knows what it feels like to truly have peace because you had it here. For a long time, you had it. And so now it's like you know what it feels like to have it. Your soul does. And so to not have it right here, right now, I think is more painful than it is for other people. And so I really feel for you guys. But you're going to find that peace again, okay? Let go of the stress. Let go of the worry. Remember, you've got the good karma. You've got the luck. It's time to start confiding in other people. Find the appropriate people to confide in. Find the appropriate partnership, a place where you can be intimate and vulnerable. That's going to do you a world of good, okay? So I hope this helps you guys. Comment below if you guys want to open up a little more about whatever it is you're going through, because for some of you, I feel like it's a little bit heavy, huh? So feel free to comment below, and I'd like to talk to you guys down there, okay? But I'm going to leave you guys here before my voice is completely gone. But I want to thank you so, so much for coming. It was so fun to take a look at your past life. Thanks for allowing me to do this. And I look forward to seeing you guys in my next Pick a Card reading. Love you guys.